All right, what's up, everybody? This is Khaliq, and just wanted to say welcome again. We're on here on another Hangout, and we got people coming in. This is post Pensado Awards and post the holidays, 4th of July here in the U.S. Independence Day. It's 4th of July everywhere, I guess, but Independence Day for us is the holiday in particular. So after eating a lot of barbecue, putting on some extra pounds and everything, we're all just getting ready to wrap up and get started with the next work week and career moves and all that. But today, what I wanted to do is basically start out where, based on our last session. So if you hung out with us last time, you know, we talked about we wanted to discuss more principles, see about playing more audio examples, discussing different tools and plugins and things we may have come across that were cool, getting a chance to demonstrate inside these Hangouts. You know, it takes a little bit of a technical kind of setup that you know, it's not like it's not super difficult, but it's difficult enough because of everybody having various setups, various software, various computers and all that. So making it an easy way to come in, like me and Bill are able to do it pretty easily now because we kind of found out what works for our particular systems, and we're trying different things all the time to tweak it and everything. Then adding other people into the Hangout can sometimes be a challenge. Okay, so what we're doing today is we want to try to see if we can take that a little bit farther. So today is going to be kind of discovery mode. So if you hang with us through a few of the little bumps and bruises of getting this process going and everything, I think it's going to be very well worth your while, because we want to keep tweaking the process so that we can bring you more. We can bring you more so that, you know, when Bill's always running into all kinds of different trainings, plugins, tutorials, different things. And then he's the type of guy, you guys know, that he'll go in and he tries pretty much everything. He's an implementer. And if that's something that I want you to know, that really is the key to success, is just going out and implementing. Even if it doesn't end up being your final tool, just trying some of these different things. The more you do, it gives you more understanding. It gives you those 10,000 hours of mastery that you have to become proficient in anything. You know, you've got to put in the hours there. And we've done it, and you know, some of the people on here, that's part of what they regularly do now. So that's what we're doing now, to master these Hangouts and bring you more. Part of us doing it is trying a few different ways of bringing it to you, and you can see the process, and then you know better for next time. So just bear with us a little bit on this particular Hangout. We're going to be talking about some new stuff that came out. Bill got a couple of new toys and everything. I'll talk about a few of the ones that I like and have had a chance to play with. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that we do besides just tools and plugins and techniques and stuff like that. Some of the stuff we do for our mind, body, and spirit, because like I said, we just had a holiday here in the U.S., and I've got to tell you, I shut it down for these last few days like I haven't done in so long, and I'm not guilty about it. It actually feels so good. I have noticed, you know, I've been spending a lot of time in front of the computer, so I noticed my eyes getting a little weird, you know, and so these last few days I haven't even been on the computer. I've been actually grabbing, you see I got my little baby back here that I'm trying to get back to now. I know I'm not going to play it for y'all because I still sound like crap for now. I haven't gotten it back yet, but I'm going to have it back, and then one of these days I'm going to grab this live for you guys and do some stuff, because you know, that is where my main joy is, just making music. I started out as a musician. Any of you probably, no matter how technical you are, you probably started out with just having music in your heart and loving it. So sometimes we got to shut it down from all this other stuff and just say, okay, I'm just going to do some love of life, love of me, and just chill, you know. So with that being said, I want to get on here, and we got Bill, and we got Dave, we got Joseph on here. Hey, Joseph, I want to go to you first, man, because you just got on, and want to be sure we can hear you and everything. So say what's up to
Hey, check 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we got you, man. What's up?
Is that coming through?
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, not too much, man. Enjoying a beautiful day here in Michigan.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, partially sunny and you know, mid-70s. It's kind of nice.
Oh, very, very cool. Yeah. We've been in a little bit of a mild heat you know, like heat wave that's kind of getting us
Hmm.
up in the 90s and hundreds sometimes. And
Yeah.
then my air conditioner barely works. You know, you can barely tell it's even on, but it's all good. I'd rather have that than the alternative. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
Ma,
Cool.
you're back, right?
Hey,
I hope
Mahat.
so. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
we can hear you. We got you.
All
Are you
right.
in studio
Yeah, we
mode
got you.
now?
I took it out of studio mode and put it back in regular mode. I don't have Soundflower, so I've set up some speakers right here so that
Yeah.
so that you can hear it.
And it should still work in studio mode. Studio mode just is a better streaming thing, but even you don't have to have Soundflower to be in studio mode.
So you'll hear me if I go to studio mode right
Yeah,
now?
if you go to studio mode, you will still hear you. What it does, it just changes the way the streaming algorithm works to accommodate more real-time music and stuff like that. Because voice mode, that's when it get that jerky and choppy audio sound.
Okay, I'm in studio mode now.
Is that
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now, we can hear you. The only difference
Okay.
with studio mode is the volume went down a little bit, so you may have to turn up your volume just a little bit more, but we can
Okay.
hear you. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, cool, cool. We
can
got
you
Don
tell me
on
what?
here. What's up, Joseph?
I did a test video. I'm trying to make my setup work better.
Uh-huh.
We talked about it. Soundflower and street. Getting the screen share going and crap like that,
Right,
right?
right.
But when I did the test video, everything is delayed terribly. Like, and do I look like a Chinese dubbed movie
Oh,
when
I
I'm
hear you.
talking to you?
Yeah, yeah.
The
Well,
lip sync is off.
yes, it is slightly off, and what that is
Okay.
that's internet connectivity because streaming is very, very hard,
Yeah.
and if you don't have a really high upstream on your computer connection, on your internet connection, yeah, it can get a little sketchy. So it depends on it. And plus, the other thing is are you plugged in, or are you plugged in via Ethernet, or are you going via Wi-Fi?
Ethernet.
You are Ethernet, okay. What's your
Yeah,
upstream?
correct. 1 GB.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. Yeah, that's like kind of the bare minimum. You're barely making it through on that.
Is that what it is? 1 GB per second?
Yeah, yeah. You need to have if you get like I have 5 upstream. I may even bump it up to 10 eventually, but 5 is pretty good. But usually, if you start getting below like around 3, it can get kind of sketchy.
Okay, yeah, I'm reading it wrong. I just opened it. I'm just under 3 right now as we're talking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna
I
say
don't
it
know.
isn't bad though.
Okay.
It's not bad. It's just slightly delayed, out of sync, and so is mine. I can tell mine is a little out of sync, but it's enough where people can follow us.
Yeah, it's very close. Your picture's good. Mine looks all crappy. I just don't want to go out and buy another camera if I'm doing something else wrong.
Yeah, no, no. I
Operator
think it's a
error.
connectivity. Yeah, it's
Right.
a connectivity issue.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I
What's
can
up,
fix
Don?
that.
We got you on here too, man. What's going on?
Hey, Don.
Hey, what's up, guys? Can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah, yeah. We
Yeah.
got you a little bit lower. You can either crank it up or get a little closer to your mic.
Yeah, I'll turn it up a little bit. I'm actually outdoors, so
Oh,
probably
okay.
why.
I got you. Yeah. Hey, man, I was going to ask you too, because today we're going to, today for everybody's benefit of watching and everything, we're going to try to see if we can do more interactive where people can kind of play their own stuff, show some things and all that. So, do you have anything you can play for us today? Some things that or even show us or talk about and let us hear some examples. Something
Yeah,
cool you got. You got something?
actually I do. Is it okay to play links, or do you want the file itself?
Well, we want you to be able to play it over your thing, whatever you want to play, and say, "Hey, check this out, guys," because I don't want you to have. That's the way we've had to do it before, where everybody had to send it to me, but then I have to get in and set it up and make it play through.
Okay, so if
So
I
we're trying to tweak it where people can just do their own thing.
all right, cool, yeah. So if I just play it, what do I do to do that?
Okay, so right now, one of the main things that are you on? First of all, you on a PC or a Mac?
I'm on the PC. I'm on a laptop at the moment.
Okay, well, then I think the easiest way, because I don't really know, but the easiest way right now basically is if you go to studio mode, just like I told my aunt, studio mode is a higher quality streaming algorithm for this, where it won't do all the skipping and stuff like that. Like when you're playing music, it's nowhere near as bad as when you're in voice mode. It does a lot of skipping and garbling the stuff and digitizing the sound. So studio mode, go to studio mode, and then what will happen is your level will go down a little bit. So you'll probably have to turn it up, but it'll be a better quality stream. And then that way you can just simply play some stuff over your speakers and let your microphone pick it up and play it for us.
So studio mode is only for Apple?
No, studio mode is in the Hangouts up top. So if you go up top into the settings that we always talk about, where you set up your camera and
Got it.
yeah. So at the very bottom you should see a thing that says voice, and on the drop down it says voice and studio. And if you select
okay,
studio,
Khaliq, will it bump me if once I do that, or will it keep my connection?
no, all it does is change how we're hearing you. Like I said, the audio level will drop a little bit, so you may have to turn it up so we can hear you like we're hearing you now.
How can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Are you in studio mode now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Same here. Am I still coming through?
You're still coming through. Okay, so good.
All right,
we got
cool.
that. Okay, that's step number one. This is the easiest way, you know, so when you guys want to play something, you'll just have to play it over your speakers, let your microphone pick it up, and then we can talk about whatever it is you're talking about or pointing it out. It's not the best quality direct to the system solution, but at least we can reference it and talk about it. So it's better than nothing for now. You know, me and Bill right now have the ability to play directly from our systems, and Bill's on there. He'll be showing you some stuff real soon because he got some new toys and everything. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that's cool.
Okay, so if I press play, it won't play. Like it won't play for you guys the way I hear it. Is that what you're saying?
Right, yeah. So you've got to play it over your speakers for us to be able to hear it. Unless you had something like, well, so you're on a PC, so I don't know what the equivalent is. It might play through your system. I mean, you can try some stuff, try some of the settings, and choose different sound card settings in your, you know, in the settings menu that's up top, and then just play something, and we'll tell you if something comes through. But I don't know if on PC because I don't do this on PC. So
Well, I mean, is this something that I need to set because I can find it? I just don't know. What
yeah, I mean, well, like I said, I don't know to be sure, but it would have to be something you'd have to kind of experiment with and figure out what works, what's going to work on your system. You know, that'll be for your output.
Yeah, I could play it because I mean it's set in studio mode. So I was thinking that if you played something, then it didn't share it amongst the group if you're in that mode. That's what I was assuming.
Yeah, well,
So
studio mode is just the algorithm, how it streams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know, but you know, you have the input and output is what determines what the actual audio is that's going to stream. You know, where it's going to come from.
Can you hear that?
Hear that?
No, I don't hear anything.
Yeah,
Which one are you
yeah.
changing? You changing the input or the output?
That was interesting.
Because you have to change the input. You have to change whatever the little microphone icon. You do the digital drop down, and it will show you your built-in inputs, your mic inputs, all the different things that you got available, and you just try some different ones and see if anything comes through. You know.
Yeah, without sharing that, I don't know how you guys would do it.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Yes.
I think it would have to be some kind of shared thing or something.
No. Yeah, like I said, it's in the settings. You know, so because we do it all the time, but we've already got it set up. But because we're on the PC, I mean we're on the Mac, we use Soundflower and stuff like that. So I don't know what it'll be for PC, but you can find it. You know, and if not, like I said, the easiest solution is to simply play it over your speakers. I know you're outside though, so you know you might have to.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's why you can't hear it. So that's gonna be out for me for being outdoors. So that's cool.
Okay,
I'm outside. So.
Hey, Khaliq.
Yes.
I want to put Bun Me on blast. He's in church right now. He's texting me, asking me a question for y'all.
Who is it?
Bun Me Solomon. He's pretty cool, brother. He's up in the LA area.
Does he want to come on?
He says if he can make it before we get off, he will. But he's in church right now. He said, "Man, I'm not even supposed to be texting. I'm putting him on blast."
Oh yeah, right.
But he has a question, and I want to get it off just real quick to you. He says says, my question, frequency stacking, EQ separation. He says, I still have troubles getting EQ right like I hear it in my mind. He says, mostly in the center of the mix. Bright 808 snares and hi-hats and claps, plus lead vocal in the center and lead synth. Kick, raspy bass, rhythm guitars. I get confused on how to make everything work together. Says, what method would you guys recommend to make all this stuff work together? Or are there any articles or videos? Anything would be greatly appreciated.
You know, that's a good one. In fact, I'm going to write that one down because I think that's something that I want to address and show it and demonstrate it in video. Because this is something, when I first learned about frequency stacking and things like that, you know, you hear all these terms and you think you know what the term means until you keep going through the process, and then finally one day you realize, okay, I've actually got it now. I understand what the term, but at first it just starts out as a term. But the way that it locked and clicked for me is, you guys know that I've told you that I started out, you know, as well as being a musician. Once I first got into engineering, one of the things that got me into a lot of sessions was because even though I was just either assisting or coming up or whatever, I started learning the extra stuff, and I started learning about synthesizer programming. And what made EQ click for me was learning how to program synthesizers. You basically started out with, you know, I learned on a Mini Moog synthesizer, first of all, was one of the main ones I learned, because you had to really just kind of build your thing up, and they couldn't save no presets. So I started out learning with the oscillators, and then I would equate frequency stacking to that. That's how it comes together in my mind, because what I learned was, when I wanted to make a Mini Moog sound that was huge and big, wide, deep, and everything else, it started out with how I stacked the oscillators. And then how, you know, the waveforms became the frequencies. So, you know, if I needed something like a huge Mini Moog bass sound, many times I'd use at least two oscillators, but many times 3 oscillators. And I'd have one oscillator that was covering the weight, the low end of it. That was the stack part for the low end, and that was the function it played down there. Then I'd open up another oscillator and stack it on top of the oscillator I started with, and then that kind of filled it up and made it grow up a little bit more and carried another range. And then you know, if I needed a third oscillator, I put that on top, and then I might change the waveforms. One might start out with a sine wave or a sawtooth wave or whatever, and then I say, okay, now I'm gonna stack this other one on top of it to make it a little bit bigger and kind of fit into a space sonically. And so I say, okay, that might need a square wave to give it a little edge or whatever, which is the equivalent of, you know, putting that, like when you're EQing and putting stuff in the high end, or even when you're adding saturators and things like that. So all of these things, for me, what locked it in kind of went back to that, and that's how I really kind of think about EQ, is like, before I knew anything about EQ and stuff like that, I was already kind of doing it with the synthesizers to find the place of stacking it in the way the sound was being built up. So all frequency stacking for me is like you said, you hear it in your head and you kind of know where it should go, and then you separate out your frequencies into role playing. You know, each frequency range plays a role, and then you make all them work together. So it's kind of like in compression. That's exactly how parallel compression came about too, because we had, you know, the inline compression that just did its thing in squash, but that was one flavor. And then parallel compression, when somebody decided to do that and make it an additive process, it still gave you the kind of the best of the both worlds. So it became a stacking thing as opposed to just inline, you know. And so I don't know if that helps him, but for me, it's like you have to just think in terms of separating things out into the roles you want them to play. Separate the frequencies out into the roles. And the roles also can change from section to section. So the verse, the way you stack your frequencies, may have one role where the low end or the mids and the low mids are playing a certain thing, and it may or may not need weight. But then when you get to the chorus, you say, okay, I need to shift the roles a little bit because I need to either have a little more oomph or a little less oomph because I got more instruments here. I got to pull some of that low end back or the low mids back to get out of the way because I got more other things filling that. Or if I got high stuff, you know what I'm saying? They all play a role in the stack process of how you stack your EQs. And it starts with how you imagine how this is supposed to fit with everybody else. And then the other part of frequency stacking that goes beyond the EQ is, like I said, the secret sauce is knowing what parts of it may need to be saturated and what parts of it may need the compression, because compression is part saturation too, because compression makes things denser. You know, so does it need to be dense or does it need to, you know, open up a little bit more in the different sections? All of this plays together, you know. I hope I didn't get too convoluted, so I'm going to let somebody else tie in, but that's kind of how it works for me. I always keep kind of going back to that and then making the sound do the role play and matching the role play to the frequencies the way I want to combine them together. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
I'm ready for, like you said, since we're going to start doing this and I'm going to get this sound flower thing going, we can start demonstrating this, which makes it so much easier.
You've got your system up. Then let's start with you. You brought it up, bro.
I've kind of got it up.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's see. You're a perfect guinea pig. Let's see what we got.
Okay, I'll share my screen in a second. This is Dre DeMos is working on a mix, and he wanted his kick to simply be louder, to just have more impact, be louder. But if he was to turn it up, it would push on the master fader or push on the next section down the gain stage, and it would push on to the next section more. And so he didn't want to cause anything down the line to pump or be pushed on anymore. So I had him insert an EQ and then a limiter, and he did a little gain staging with that so that he would have room on his EQ to do some boosting. And I had him basically use the limiter to set the output volume level. So if he was peaking at -3 on his kick, I had him say peak 1 dB less, 2 dB less, and then using the limiter to set that output. And then basically he boosted frequencies into the kick to get the kick back to the loudness that he wanted and then more. But the output of that limiter was actually less than what he started. So he was pushing on the master fader less, or pushing on whatever next down the line less, yet the volume was actually louder. And so this helped him like get stuff louder without messing up stuff down the line. And that's the basic idea of what I want to show here. And I'm hoping, because I have not done this. I have a radio sitting right here because I just hooked my Inbox 3 up. And since I don't have Soundflower, I have to play this over the radio. So I'm going to unplug this radio and hope I don't get a loop feedback. Yep, okay. I'm going to do a screen share. Do you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay. So the basic thing is there's going to be a kick playing, a kick and a snare. It's very simple. I just want to demonstrate the concept. So can you hear that? Or do I need to turn it up?
We can hear it.
Okay. So this kick is peaking somewhere around, well, according to the limiter, -4.6, right? And the output is -4.6. The input and output of this limiter is -4.6. I'm going to go to this EQ and take it down, say 8, 12 dB, whatever. Right now I took it down 11 dB. But I'm going to raise so I took it down, and it goes EQ, which is right here. Yes.
Real quick before you go, let us hear in context what we're listening to. You have other music around it?
No, none. This is just kick and snare. That's all that's in this. It's just kick and snare, so I can demonstrate just the principle.
Okay. Cool.
No, there's not a whole mix here. This is I had set this up just to demonstrate the kick, the ability of what I'm talking about.
Okay. And let's try one other thing too, real quick. I want to see if it'll work. Try holding Command Option 8 and see what happens. It should zoom.
Command Alt 8. Nope, not on mine.
You're on a Mac?
MacBook Pro.
Command Option and 8.
Are you talking about 8 on the side keys? Because I don't have
No, 8 on the top.
Command Op 8, Command Alt 8, Command Function 8.
Okay, it might be turned off. It's under the system preferences under. Let me see. I'll tell you in a second.
Yeah, bro. Hotep does not know much about these Macs. My Hotep is a PC dude, and Pensado students told me to buy a Mac. I bought a Mac.
They told you right.
So where would I go for this, Khaliq? Display?
Okay, it's under accessibility, I believe. Wait, hold on. Let me check and see. Display. No, that's not it. Oh, Zoom, yeah. So go under accessibility on the system preferences menu.
I'm on system preferences. Generals. Is it under hardware? I don't see it.
Accessibility. You should be seeing. You should see all the stuff, right? Okay. Accessibility should be right under. Where we at? I just had it. Oh, it's under system. You should see users and groups, parental control, date and time machine, all that stuff. Accessibility and startup disk.
I have users and groups, parental controls, date and time, software update, speech, time machine, and startup disk.
Oh, wait a minute. First of all, what system are you using?
Look now,
because I'm on Mountain Lion, so you may not have it. If it's not there, it may be up near the top. Because I know they did move it with Mountain Lion and Mavericks.
Under personal, I have general, desktop, dock, mission control, language text security, Spotlight, universal access. Is that it?
Universal access, see if it's under that. I think it used to be under that.
Okay, I'm on universal access, and I'm looking for...
See if you see anything that relates to Zoom.
Yes, Zoom. Says Zoom is on, and it's set for... Says turn Zoom on or off with Shift, Command 8.
Okay, that's it. Shift. Command, Shift, and 8.
I believe that's Shift. It's a line that goes like this, then Command equals, or Command 8, I mean. So what is it when it's a line?
When it's that little line, that should be the Option key.
It's like a diagonal line, and then Command 8.
Oh, it's a diagonal line.
It's diagonal with a top shelf and a bottom shelf.
Okay, so it almost looks like a filter or something like that. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Option key.
So Option Shift 8 says turn it on and off. Right now Zoom is on, and it says zoom in is Shift Command equal or what Option Command equal, whatever that is. Zoom.
Okay, it's not doing anything.
Do I need zoom in window?
Look at see if there's some other things under that. It may be engaging, but you may need to actually zoom to get it going.
Okay.
So what else does it say? There should be like it should be some other command keys like command
equal, command option equal.
Yeah, that's just zoom in, zoom out.
Okay.
See if any of that stuff works.
I've clicked a thing that has zoom window, and now I can't get rid of this baby.
What do you mean?
I have a real big window up here for
So it did zoom.
Yeah, it's a big
zoom. Okay,
so
hit command option minus now.
Command alt minus, and then command alt equal turns it on.
Yeah. And to turn it on and off, you can use the command option 8. That'll turn it on and off.
I'll be damned. And I'm seeing it come on and off.
Okay, good.
So this
you need to zoom in and out, you can use that.
I'm going to show you can you see what's on my screen?
Yeah, we can. I don't see anything changing though, so I don't even know if it actually worked for us.
No, you don't see the zoom stuff?
No.
Okay. The zoom in window, am I able to make it bigger?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to get you to do, where you could zoom right in onto the section you were trying to show us, and we could see the settings and stuff.
Okay. Let's see. Command Alt 8 turns it off. Cool. I think I'm ready for you, Khaliq.
What's up, Vladi? What's up? Welcome, man.
Command Alt 8. Like that?
Do you see it zoom?
I see a zoom. Oh, yeah, I see a zoom window. It's big.
Can anybody else see it? Because I can't see it. I can't see it zooming on mine. It still looks the same.
Okay, yeah, not gonna work, bro.
Okay, it's not gonna work. That's all right.
All right, then I'll try to do a good job explaining.
Okay.
So basically, all right, I'll press play, and this I've turned the kick down 11 dB on this EQ, which then I would go to the threshold of this limiter and turn it down 11 dB.
Okay. We can't see your limiter. Do you have it open?
You can't? Oh,
no.
Let me move it on to the screen then.
On the screen share, what you should do is just show your desktop. That's what Bill showed me.
You mean to tell me y'all aren't seeing my Pro Tools at all?
We can see the Pro Tools, but we can't see when you show plugins and stuff like that. We're not seeing what you see unless you actually put it on desktop for your screen share.
Is it using two monitors?
What'd you say?
Are you using monitors?
I have no idea what you just said.
Oh yeah, we're getting delays.
What was that, Bill?
He said, are you using monitors?
Am I using two monitors? No.
Yeah.
No.
Whatever you put screen share on, change it desktop.
I have screen share on desktop.
Okay.
That's what I had it on, but it's not showing my plugins.
Well, go to something else for a second and let's see, be sure it's on desktop. Like go to your desktop, actually. And let's see if it switches for us. Yeah, because it's not switching. It's staying in the tool.
Do it again. Screen share again.
Okay. Man, we're going to have this much trouble. We won't have a show.
Like I told everybody in the beginning, I was like, we're getting new ground here, so everybody watching,
screen share again,
this is for your benefit.
All right, here we go.
We'll get it. This is all new territory for everybody.
Desktop.
There we go. We got your desktop now.
There's that.
Trial.
1 sec. I might be in business.
There you go. You're in business.
Do you guys see the plugin now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Work through it. I'm starting to become less illiterate when it comes to this stuff. All right.
You might want him in the box, Khaliq.
I got him blue boxed.
Okay, so right now you should see an EQ, yes? See
yes.
the EQ on the screen?
Yes.
And then limiters up also, so you see both of them, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I had turned the EQ down 11 dB. I inserted an EQ on the drum track, and then inserted a limiter on the drum track, and then I turned the input of the EQ down 11 dB, went over to the...
Hey, Matt, do me a favor and take your mouse and move it slowly over to the parameters you're talking about, just so that others who may not know what you mean, they'll be able to follow along.
Okay. On playing this track, right, I inserted an EQ, this one, and it was peaking at negative 4.6 over here. I knew that because the limiter had said so. This limiter tells me what it was. This limiter told me what it was right there. So then I need more room on this EQ to boost. I need more than 4.6 dB of headroom, possibly. So to get more room, I simply turned this down a bunch. 11 dB is what I ended up stopping at. But I want the audio to stay the same as far as what I'm hearing. So I went to my limiter and turned it down 11 dB, the exact amount that I turned the input of the EQ down. Because the signal path is EQ into limiter. If I turn the EQ down by 11 dB, turn the limiter threshold down by 11 dB, it brings it right back up to the volume I started at.
Right.
Am I making sense?
Yep.
And then when I quickly do this, I normally just grab this link thing and take it down is what it is. And when I take it down like this, both of these come down and it's supposed to stay at the same volume is the idea of that. So I'll do that real quick, and what I'm gonna do is make the hold on, let me play it first before I even do that, so you can see it. Can you actually read the little meter right down here?
It's too small. That's why I was trying to zoom,
Okay.
but that's okay. Just you can say the numbers if you want.
That Control-Alt-8.
I see negative 4.6, but
Do you see it? Is it zoomed? Please tell me it's zoomed.
No, I don't see it zoomed.
Zoom is working. I got Zoom working, but you don't see it. Okay. All right, so it's at
negative 4.6.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna play this. You won't hear any audio yet, but I'm gonna play this, and whatever it'll tell me a reading, which right now it's at negative 15.6, right?
Yeah.
So if I take this down to negative 15.6, it'll be right to where that is, but it won't be doing any damage to the signal yet.
Now, Ahmad, explain what it is you're taking down, so that, because we know and we take it for granted, but there's a lot of people that may not even have a clue. What is it you're actually taking down?
Okay, the signal level right now is at negative 15.6.
So you're talking about the input, right?
Coming into the input of this limiter.
Right.
And the threshold, I'm going to take the threshold down to negative 15.6, and at the same time take the ceiling down the same amount, so that if I take both of them down at the same amount, the volume is not supposed to change, is the idea. So this link thing right here, if I grab this link button and take it down, if you see, can you guys see that moving?
Yeah, so they're locked.
Yeah, they're locked. It brings both of them down. I'm going to bring it down to 15.6, and when I press play, I'm not touching the signal. That kick is hitting, and it's hitting at negative 15.6. I have the threshold set at negative 15.6, so I'm not digging into the signal.
Right.
So
in other words, when you say that, you mean you're not actually compressing or limiting.
Correct. But it's right there to where if I do any gain increase on that signal coming into this limiter, the limiter is going to stop it.
Right.
So if you look right here, the output of this ceiling is negative 4.6, which is what the kick was originally at anyway. When we started, that kick was hitting at negative 4.6. The output of this limiter is at negative 4.6 when I did that. And okay, so you guys can see that.
We see it.
Okay,
I see it.
so what I was telling Dre is when his kick was at negative 4.6, physically, like the DBFS was at negative 4.6, he wanted to increase volume on his kick, but if he did, it would push on the next stage. So I told him, I said, decrease the output of that stage by 1 dB, maybe 2, and then increase the volume by boosting into a limiter. So with us doing all of this right here, what he's able to do is if I were to take this negative 4.6 and take it down to, say, negative 6.6, the volume is actually going to be less. The physical volume as well as what you actually hear are going to be less. And so then he went in, he was saying he wanted to hear more 808 hit. So on this EQ, which is before that limiter, this is what he did. I'm going to make this Q very small, a very narrow Q.
And hold on for a hot second. Before you do that, let me just explain to everybody because, like I said, a lot of people may not know what that is. So he changed that output ceiling, which is that middle slider there. That was originally you had it at 4.6, right? Yeah, he's circling it now. And so he's talking about if he takes it down 2 more dB, basically. And what that is, all that is that particular thing that's the output that's going to go back out of that particular plug-in, versus what went in. He had it at 4.6, which is matching where his original volume was coming in. But now he's taking it down an additional minus 2 dB as far as like saying it's not going to get any louder than this. That's what the output ceiling is. It's putting a ceiling on it. So just letting everybody else knows who may not be as advanced to really know it so that they can kind of know what the theory is behind what it is you're doing. Okay, go ahead and continue, bro.
Now this kick is hitting the master fader 2 dB less. The volume that you hear is 2 dB less, and physically is 2 dB less. And so I told him now with this setup like this, try to get the kick back as loud as you want it, sounding like you want it. Even go louder than what you had, like go for what you wanted. And if you achieve it, you'll have 2 dB less hit of this signal hitting the master fader or the next stages, and yet it'll be louder. And so I'm going to show you what he did, then I'm going to let you hear it. I changed this to a parametric, and I made the bandwidth very slim, like this. And then as he's playing it, he just swept through listening for when he heard a tone, like he wanted the 808 type sound to be coming through on this acoustic kick. And he just swept through until he heard what he wanted to hear. I'll find one in just a second, and then as soon as I find it doesn't have to be tone perfect, but I want to just enough to make the demonstration.
And just so you know, we can't hear anything right now. I think you turned your speakers down, but that's okay for now if you want.
Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna. Matter of fact, I'm going to do all this, and then I'm going to bypass him and let you hear the actual result and see what's happening. And he also said, like, he wanted the kick brighter once he got it like this. So he just, all he did was boost and sweep and listen and go for what he wanted. Like he just started over going to EQ his signal on how he wanted it. I'm making it brighter right now. I'm going to boost something else just to make a point. All right, so I got a couple going. Now I'm going to let you hear what this actually sounds like. All right, if you got Khaliq, if you talk right now, it's going to loop. So you guys can't talk. So first, I'll show you the brightness, just to show you the ability that when I do that, the limiter is catching it, yet it got brighter. And then if you look, I'm peaking now on this EQ. It's somewhere, it looks like 4 dB or whatever. And this limiter is actually catching quite a bit, like 10 dB total, but the output stays the same at -6 no matter what I do, but I get an increase in volume. And this is basically what he did to get his kick back to the same volume that, well, louder than what he had, but it's now pushing on the master fader less. And he went through and did his snare like this.
Are we listening to the kick drum now or the snare?
I'm sorry, it was just the kick.
Yeah, I just wanted to so everybody else knows what we were listening for, to reference that. Okay.
Yeah, I can call it up again. Yeah, it was just the kick that I was doing right now.
Okay.
And I can do this with I can.
Well, quick question
for you. You want me to do it to the snare?
Well, before you do that, just so people can hear the difference of what's happening too, because like I said, so everything we know has a consequence too. So are you level matched? Let's hear what it sounds like with and without what you just did. Hear if it's doing anything, how it's affecting the signal, and what if there's any pluses and minuses behind doing the process. Because everybody needs to be aware everything has consequences. So you got to be aware when you do these things. You gain something, but you got to keep your ears and eyes and mind open for, am I affecting anything in a negative way too? So are you level matched or anything?
No, I wasn't going for that, like the sound that I would just want. I was just boosting to show the ability.
Right.
So yeah, even if I level matched, I wasn't going for it to sound whatever. I was just showing that you can get this brightness going on and the level is actually lower, but even though it's louder.
Oh, okay, my bad then. Okay, we'll continue, man.
Since you said that, yeah, I'm going to have to come in. Like, well, once I get this stuff set up, like what you guys, the masters of doing this stuff right here, you know, obviously I don't know what I'm doing on this yet, on this sharing the screen thing yet. But I'll end up setting it up so that, like, we'll do this again, and I'll actually run through my whole system of how I'll do this. And you know, if you want to do some level matching type stuff, now that I know that I'll be prepared so that it'll be level matched and whatever, I'll do an episode like that, not a problem.
That'd be cool, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Then do it. Go through it one more time, and show the effect on some different frequency ranges in there. It's a very cool technique. Shows some of the different. You made it brighter. Let's see what happens if maybe you go for some of the mids or low mids. I saw you pull out the like you said, you got the 808 thing. First of all, too, what frequency did you end up at? That pulled out some of that 808 thing. Where were you at? Somewhere around like 40s or?
I was just going for some type of boom, just so some type of change. So it could have been anything, but
well, I mean, you got it on.
I ended
EQ
up at
there.
58. I ended up at 58.8.
58. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but a lot of times you might find 2 or 3 things to boost. Like you might find 30 and 58 and maybe something at 40 on some of these kicks. You never know. You just sweep through them and find. But what I'll do is I'll do it to the snare this time. Where's the snare? Let me see. Yeah, I'll do it to where you guys can hear the snare. I'll just run through the process real quick on the snare.
Sounds good.
Let's see. Here we go. All right, remember, if you guys talk, it's going to feedback.
Right.
All right, here we go. On the snare. There it is. So I'm going to call up this limiter. According to the limiter, the snare's hitting at 0. So, since the snare's hitting at 0, I'm going to give myself 12 dB of headroom in this EQ. So I'm going to take the EQ down -12. -1, 2, enter. So now the snare is lower in volume. I'm going to take the threshold of this limiter down -12, and it's going to bring the volume back up. So the volume is back up like it originally was. And now I'm going to say subtract just 1 dB, which then it would hit the master fader, or the next stage is 1 dB less. And let me see what this snare is hitting at right here. So according to this, the snare is hitting at -12 on this limiter. So if I do any boost right now, that snare is going to the snare is going to get louder in that frequency, and this limiter is going to catch it. So if I want some mid-range brightness on this snare, here it comes. I'm getting that brightness, but it's actually 1 dB less. I'm not going to do that much. And I might, if I decided I want some lower frequency something, let's say I'll take the 200 range. So I've added some type of body and brightness to the snare. But it's louder than it originally was, but it's actually hitting at 1 dB less. Hold on, let me see. Here's bypassed. The snare. So, again, it's 1 dB less hitting the master fader and any stage before that, like in between, but it's actually louder. And that's what Dre went through and did to his mix. Let me do this. That's what Dre went through and did to his mix to make things louder without screwing up the song that he had as far as gain staging.
Cool, cool. Now, I have a question for you.
Very good.
See, something like that is very helpful to people. And here's the thing. And I mean, I know, of course, we know the answer to this, but I want you to address it for other people. Do you need to have the exact same plugins that you have?
Oh, no, that's the beauty of it. You could use any EQ, any limiter you want. The limit, the tools just have to have the ability to like threshold or you know, you just have to have the ability to control your gain staging somehow. This EQ happened to have an input gain and an output gain where I could control the gain staging within it. That if I didn't have that, then I might put a trim plug in, or, you know, somehow you have to control, you have to give yourself room to boost in that EQ. But I do this on individual sounds when I'm, like, if I'm creating kicks and snares that I want to use to make beats, I'll make them knock the way that I want, bounce them down, and then start my session up, create a beat with this stuff, and then do what I need to do to those samples afterward.
Yeah.
Is this technique more applicable when other sounds are present? I do this technique whenever. Like I said, I might create my individual kicks and snares like when I'm doing sound design, or I'll do this within a mix. It's just a matter of getting the sound that you want at a lower dBFS.
Yeah, and you know, the good thing about what you just said too, man, that is another example, whether you knew it or not, you kind of answered the other guy's previous question, because basically that's frequency stacking as well. What you were just doing in there is basically it as well. So that's how you can get some of these different harmonics to come out and fit right within, like, so like you said, if there's other things going on around it, you can actually surgically inject the frequencies areas you want to have the energy that you want right in the place where it's needed. So that's very, very useful in so many circumstances, because you can still have the power that you need, you can still get the loudness that you need, but insert it right where it needs to fit within the context of everything else.
When I would lower the threshold on a limiter, I always felt limited, because how do I say this? Restricted, because whatever hit that limiter first is what hit that limiter first. But this way, I actually had control over what was hitting the limiter. Like if I remember lowering the threshold on some sound because I wanted the brightness to come out. I wanted all these nuances to come out, but I had a specific thing I was going for, and I didn't necessarily know it. When I went in and did this, I simply went for the sound I wanted, which I didn't necessarily know what frequency it was. I swept through, and when I heard it, it stuck out. I saw the limiter working, and it wasn't just a matter of taking the threshold down and it just goes down and everything comes up. Only the frequencies that I want are coming up, and that was a major thing for me.
Yep. So yeah, no, it's very useful, you know, and yeah, Mata, as we get to develop this process more and more, like you said, we'll set up another one where we let everybody understand and know that, well, this, like everything else that we all learn out here, when we learn all these different things, you also have to be aware. Yeah, there's always consequences. So we'll learn how to take a listen and be sure that, okay, we're doing this now, and that's achieving one thing. Did it do anything else? And so, yeah, so when you get into the ability where we can actually play it direct and everything, that'll be a real interesting thing, because then we'll level match it and listen for little things like, okay, now let's see, okay, how is it affecting some of the other instruments that are there? How is the attack and release? Because that's why I asked you about the different things, because, for example, the L1, like you were using there, has some fixed things in it that can't be changed. They're part of the algorithm. But if somebody has something else that has, you know, variable attack and releases, or the way they may be simulating something, maybe it has slower attacks and releases, faster attacks and releases, right. Maybe it has a tube thing or whatever. That's all going to affect the whole process, and people just have to be aware of it, you know, because there's no right or wrong. You just have to be aware. You know? I'll take the same kicks and snares when I'm doing sound design, when I'm trying to create these like kicks and snares on steroids. I'll go through and use various tools, because I end up with different results. I'm the same person, but these tools, sometimes there'll be a release on a limiter. Some limiters that I have actually have a tube that you could, is it a limiter? Is it EQ or limiter? One of them has a tube on it that I can adjust and change the sound of. The L2007 by Massey has all types of characteristics, and I'll play the kick, run the kick through
through one setting, change the setting, bounce that setting down, change the setting, bounce that setting down, and have all these kicks with these different characters. When I go to make a beat, nobody sits there and says anything about the characteristic of my beat. It's kick, snare, hitting, and then I use that to create a beat to groove you, and it's my sound.
Exactly.
As I'm EQing, I'm going for a sound that I like. And what I didn't like about limiters was my transients were being taken away. So my kick would be hitting, and my kick would actually just be sort of weak. Not even sort of. I didn't like what was happening with the transients, but this way I was able to keep the transients. Yeah. And it was tripping me out. I might even have too much transient, boosting and stuff. And if it ended up with too much transient, I would do a narrow cut. You know how you sweep for the problem, then do a narrow cut, and I would control how much those frequencies that had the transient in there or that sound, I would just reduce it down and control it to where it was hitting like what I wanted. Instead of me just lowering the threshold and being susceptible to whatever the limiter, however the limiter was built.
Yeah. That is very, very valuable, and I'm glad that you mentioned too, because it's very important for other people to know that once you listen and go through something, like you said, and you listen and say, okay, well, now what happened to my attack on my kick, or snare or whatever you're using it in. So it's very important that you have that recognition, and some people go in and just start using the broad hammer on everything, and it's like, you got to always be listening, so it's a great technique, and it can set you just with what you need and craft your whatever it is you're trying to build for your foundational beat. And this is not limited just to beats. You can do it with instruments to set them in there. You can put them on stereo buses, stereo subgroups of things, and set stuff right where it needs to go. And as long as it's going to be real cool when we show more of stuff like this and people can realize that, okay, this can be very powerful and very useful, but let me stay aware that I'm not sucking the life out of other things later on or anything, because they all respond different. The L1 works slightly differently than the L2, than the L3, and then the Massies, and then the the whatever you're using, they all got different sounds, and as we learn to use the same basic technique, and when you understand the technique, then you can find that, okay, I got the technique now, but for this particular song, I'm gonna do the same thing, but maybe I wanna use a whole different brand than what I learned the technique with, and that's the real helpful thing for people when they realize, okay, I know the technique now, so let me see, the brands do make a difference too.
Yeah, and Dave brought up a point, an issue that I ran into. I would make these kicks and snares on steroid, and I would then, after I'd bounce them all down, I'd have this folder from kicks and snares. When I'd make my beat, and my frequency spectrum was pretty full. It was full. Like, I had this full sound with just kick and snare, and I'd go to put a vocal in there, and now you got to work to put the vocal in there. So then I ended up learning stuff to do with the vocal to make the vocal punch through. But in the end, the result was I would have to take stuff out of the kick, like do less, and start knowing, hey, I can't do this. I can't have all of this if I'm going to put a vocal in there.
Yeah. If everything's big, nothing's big.
Yeah, I started learning that I could do this and I couldn't do this if I was going to have a vocal there. Or I'd have a section. I'd say this is going to be a section where we're going to have the music only. And because this is going to be too much for the vocal. But you
that's a great point.
It starts. How Dave?
The other thing I was going to say is you're actually doing something that we do a lot now with live digital mixers and plugins.
Okay.
Because a lot of times people will be playing and they'll have what's called an SPD pad. They have a trigger pad. Inside the trigger pad, they'll have a sample, right, of the actual tune. But when you're doing PA and you're broadcasting it live, sometimes every frequency needs to be in the right place in order for you to play the hit. And sometimes just because somebody has a sample of something off of a record, it doesn't really sound right until you attach a plug-in and say, I need to grab this frequency and exploit it. Because you're broadcasting this thing at loud volume, right? Which means there's a primary frequency, and then there's all these other frequencies. When you know that first thing that you hear in a sound, when you're thinking PA. So when I see something like this, I think, oh, that's a cool trick. Yeah, we do that in PA if I gotta strengthen a signal, if I gotta have something recognizable. But I can use the rest, but I don't need it to clog up my picture I'm painting. I go for that specific thing, and I want it to hang only so far. You know, so it's a cool thing. It's very applicable in both areas too. You know, but yeah, you can easily get clogged in the studio. I've seen guys, they're so comfortable with the drum setup and writing drum-based producing that you actually get lost in this secondary hunt for rhythm. And so you fill up the rhythm palette, and then you forgot, oh, hey, yeah, we got to have room for the vocals. We got to have room for the... And so you're sitting there stuck, and you love the rhythm that you just created, but you don't know now where to cut a hole in it so you can carve the other things that have to go in the song. So sometimes what you'll find is that there's a way you can work to generally get what you need and then give yourself room to come back later when the picture is a little more full and use this kind of like, let's say, you know, like an X-Acto knife, just to cut out what you need or just to add what you need in certain places. Because to do it automatically, you're also creating these other harmonics that will make decisions for you, or they'll eliminate possible decisions you could make. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Hey, Mark.
Did I get that right?
No. And the good thing is, I mean, I love stuff like this because what it does is it adds to everybody's toolbox something that's very, very useful. This can be used, I mean, I know you know it, I'm just saying it for the benefit of everybody else, but I mean, this can be used, like I said, for it can be used for, first of all, it can even be used on the final stereo bus when you understand what's going on or what you're trying to do. You know, that's part of why mastering engineers were always able to get more apparent loudness. It's the same basic thing of why they're doing this thing. But using it on individual instruments to set them in the right place, having the understanding of knowing that, okay, I can't do it on everything because, like I said, if everything is loud and big and all that, then all of a sudden nothing is because there's no room for anything and it doesn't fit. But when you have that understanding, it's such a powerful technique to use these things like this because the whole secret sauce to mixing and coming out with something that translates on all systems, feels good and powerful, are recognizing these contrasts and everything and to get the most out of it. That beat, like when you put it on that snare, for example, we could really hear it on the snare because all of a sudden you can hear the snare stretching out, whereas at first it just kind of went there and just died, which is exactly, you know, and then you suddenly hear some of the upper parts of the ring of the snares coming through, but then you can hear the resonance of the shell. Like we used to always look for all of these things when we were tracking back in the day and before samplers and all that, where all you had was live drums. We did the same thing. In your mind, you had to think about, like, getting back to what we were talking about, the frequency stacking and everything. So I know when I first learned how to record, and I just put the microphone up, at first, early on, you find out what separates the men from the boys as far as the big boys that really knew what was going on. And when they put it together, their snares sounded so big, rich, and full, still crispy and snappy and everything else because they were thinking in their minds of how to separate all the frequency roles that everything had to play. So they're always listening. This isn't just a snare sound. This is a composite sound that, okay, I need to make sure I've got a... deep snare that's real thick, so it needs to have that, and it's maybe a wide one, or even if it's skinny and deep, it has a certain tone to the shell that it needs to go on there. The skin itself, the way it's tuned and how tight it's tuned, how the underneath snare resonates with it and all that. These were the frequency stacks, really. When we had a lot less tools to deal with that and separate it out, but in the recording process, we were still doing frequency stacking because everything we put on there was a roll. You know, when you're recording a live snare and you have an upper mic and a lower mic, you know, that's part of frequency stacking. You're putting that lower mic on to stack the stuff on top to get the snares in, reverse the polarity and thin out some of that stuff down there so that you can have one play one role and the other one play the other role and fill it in so that you expand the range of what's going on. You make sure that you run it through you might run it through a Neve preamp because you know that's going to add something. You run it through certain brands of tape, you know, for certain types of thing we use when we were going through we would pick Scotch 250 as opposed to Ampex 456 or some of the other formulations later on that came, you know, specifically for how it added to the frequencies and stacked on. So this is just an extension of that in the digital world, man. It's very powerful. And Mod, I want to ask you some more about the attack and release of not the compressor but the limiter. So if somebody has a different limiter, what should they be looking out for from the attacks and releases on that?
Well, one of the dangerous things that I found was when I boosted, there would come a certain point where the kick, instead of going boom like you had said, it might go boom, and then you would hear the release releasing, and it would take a long time. Your whole rhythm, everything could be thrown off. So I would end up, there would come a point where I might have to stack. I would have to put another EQ and limiter on and repeat the process. And then I would be able to make it louder again, but not have that long release going on. When I do this stuff, I simply go for what I like and what I want. It's like I have something that I want to achieve. There is no set, this has to sound like this or some, it's just a matter of feeling. And so I never know what my release is supposed to be, what my attack is supposed to be, none of that. I just start playing around. And it's interesting when you change the release, you'll have something set up and love it, and you change the release and get a whole different feel. It's like, hey, that's kind of cool.
Hello, yeah.
It's kind of cool. And so I end up printing a bunch of kicks. And so later I can go through and I'll have a folder full of kicks and snares, and I can just add them into something. And if I need to take a frequency away or do something to it, I do it. But it's a kick that's on steroid already, and if it works in that project, cool. I mean, because I like to have a folder of kicks and snares. I can just go through one after the other. But Vladdy is asking, oh no, wait, hold on. Somebody just said something about, Don. Don's laughing at me saying too much transient. Don, yes, bruh, this stuff, you can get stuff to rip your ears off, man. You can increase, if there's a transient in the 2K frequency, 3K frequency, and you boost that and get that to going, man, all right, doubt me if you want to, but when that snare pops you, slaps you upside the head, remember what I said, too much transient. Just remember that.
Yeah, you can get a lot out, of that. The good thing is with a technique like this and having the understanding of knowing that the whole purpose of it was you were trying to control what was going in versus what's coming out. And so when you know that, well, you got control of that transient too, because it's not just the frequencies, it's all of that. I do this all the time. This is how I create my drum beats now, using this. Is that? What was that?
Don, you sound like a young lady right now, bro.
Don's playing some samples or something.
Oh, okay. I do this all the time. All my kicks and snares are now designed like this. I haven't done it and used parallel processing at all. Anything like that. I'm strictly been doing this for my kicks and snares, and I love it. But it creates a certain ability, a certain sound, and it's like my signature thing right now. And Jada Moss and everybody else around here go do other stuff, and so we have all these different flavors of stuff.
And the thing is too with you, you know when it feels right. Like you said, you're going for a thing, and so it may not be no specific method to the madness as far as I'm just trying to arrive at something that I feel I'll know when it's right and in there. Is that kind of a correct thing? That's
absolutely it. I grab some of the craziest sounds for kicks and snares and end up with these drum patterns that, like everybody else around me will say, I would never use that, and I'll create drum patterns that they say they wouldn't use sounds that they say they wouldn't use, but when we're done, I mean, I'm sitting there loving it. DJ Wayne, producer Kui, swore up and down that he hated this drum beat that I had. He could not create a music that went to it because he said it was not musical because it was off. And this other guy came in and played the guitar to it.
Do you have it? Can you play it?
I can find it for the next time and have it available. It's somewhere. I still have it.
Because you know me, I love that kind of stuff, man. I love it when somebody says, "Oh, you mean you just got to get creative in here? You can literally make music out of anything." So that, to me, is what creates your uniqueness in this industry, is to go for that kind of stuff.
As a matter of fact, he had me delete. Once we created something to it, he said, "All right, bro, delete that. I hate that, right?" And I said, "Hell no, I'm not deleting." Yeah, okay, it's deleted, and I didn't delete it. So a year later, I had Anna Rams come in, and we were doing vocal training, having her pretend to be instruments. Mm-hmm. So she's doing all this. She's supposed to be violins in the background and all that type of stuff. It was her first session with me where I was trying to teach her that vocals are music. Mm-hmm. And so she had to be all these instruments in the background, and she was singing off the head, making it up as she went, right?
Yeah.
And she sang to that offbeat, and the bass line that's being played on there is him. And I played this for him in my car. I picked him up. I played it in my car. He said, "Ooh, who's that on bass? That dude is sick." Man. I'm like, man, that's this producer named Cooey that I know. He loved it. But he had such a prejudice towards it because it was so off and it wasn't the sounds. So, yeah, I have it. But all that's on there.
I'd love to hear that, man. I'd love to hear that.
I'll send it to you. We'll be able to play it. It's kick, snare. There's some synth in the background that you barely hear, and then all the rest is Anna's vocal except for the bass. Mm-hmm. And it's just a vocal training exercise. We're going to do a song to this, but it's a vocal exercise that you sound so sweet, Don, when you do that. It's just a vocal training exercise, but now he loves it. But again, my off beats, people find it hard to do stuff to until we add the rest of the music and turn it into something that actually means something. But when I create these off weird beats with these sounds, I know that when we play this, it'll be identifiable.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So then if we write something touching to this, now it's a signature sound and a touching event, and then perform it in a touching way. And I figure I'll win regardless. So that's my mentality about it, and we're going to see.
Yeah, that's the key, though, man. It really is the key. You got to come up with something that's your own unique signature, you know. So for me, it's like the weirder the better, because, you know, if you got great source material and you just stay open, you're liable to come up with something that's going to make people follow you as opposed to you sounding like, you know, everybody else out there, you know. And that really is the key.
Dave has something he typed over to the side about
ADSR, yeah. Attack, decay, sustain, release.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it?
Sure. Let me read it off. It says, discuss AR versus ADSR and how sound designing versus stacking might be a better way to build sounds.
Yeah. So you know what he means by that?
No clue. I have to claim ignorance. Something he doesn't
AR is attack and release, and ADSR is attack, decay, sustain, release.
Right. But he's saying how is one better than the other? I don't.
Well, you know, well, Dave, why don't you speak for yourself first of all, so that you can clarify, and then let's tackle it.
It's not one being better than the other. It's just it might be a better way to do it, because when you have an attack release, you're only dealing with those two elements of the wave. When you have an attack, decay, sustain release, you're dealing with 4 of the elements of the wave. You understand? You can get more intricate. So when you stack, and you're stacking different sonic events one on top of the other, you're hoping that they line up and give you some tasty sound. But in actuality, they all have different lengths of the wave. So in order to do that, you will have to get into the synthesis side of it and deal with the attack, decay, sustain, release of the wave in order to get them to line up and be where you want them to be. Is that a crude way of saying it, Khaliq?
I got you.
Yeah, and actually, Mod, you already answered it actually earlier on, because basically what it was that, like you were saying, when you created this one kick drum, and then it was going all droning all along, a little bit too long and everything. Well, that, you know, that had the attack, and it went through the attack and right through the decay straight to a long sustain. And then you found out that, okay, well, that might be too much, so I gotta change how long it sustains and maybe make the release fall in a different place. So you already answered it when you were saying how it felt differently just from changing one or two things. You know, it suddenly made the groove feel differently the way it was hitting in there just from those things. You really already answered that.
Right. You know, stacking, the concept of stacking that you're talking about, it's been here since we first entered into MIDI, really. And before that was CVs and gates. But the bottom line is that people have been stacking sounds for years. It's just that when we got into the percussive side, it's when we had to start getting, you know, doing surgery. And that's when Pro Tools came in, and all those original DAWs allowed you to do that. But stacking and layering, in synthesizer world, they used to call it layering. Okay,
right.
Which means when you had the first MIDI that came out was ignorant. You pressed one note and it gave you note on, note off, and so you could start all the sounds at the same time. No guarantee that when they blended together, when you hit the sustain pedal, it was all going to sound smooth, right? But because you had this big layer of artificial harmonic, all of a sudden it was something that didn't exist before. So we had to make a lot of records that were kind of crude, or there were a lot of records we did early on where we would take the tail end of the sound, and Khaliq knows this, we'd be in the studio on the volume control, and we'd be turning it down as the sound tailed off to match the beat of the music, because the equipment wasn't sophisticated then. We could start them all at the same time, but all the envelopes were different on the machines. They all had a different sound at the tail end. Yeah. So that's why I say when you get into some of these things, the terminology and the concept behind how you start to take them apart and make them work for you is going to overlap. You will find yourself in a sound designing mode very quickly.
Yeah.
Because you have to change the characteristics of what you're dealing with to fit. And at that point, it's no longer a stacking thing. Stacking can get you a way you can say, okay, yeah, I like that. Let's see if that goes together. Eventually, you're going to have to go from stacking to sound designing and tucking it in the right place so that it all goes together like one thought.
We've one of the preachers used to show me music, and he would take his Korg and his Yamaha and blend them to get layered the sounds and sit there and just, see how wonderful that is.
Yeah.
It was like just hours and hours of layering sounds. Creating these lush, just it's like, wow. Okay, time to do a song, and then you couldn't do all that.
Yeah, that's one of the things. One of the things that's a characteristic, like when Khaliq and I listen to a lot of music, okay? One of the things, a characteristic of somebody who's just new to some of the tools is that they'll use string sounds or things with very slow attacks so they figure out where to put their fingers and what notes to play. Okay? You don't believe me, go up to a keyboard and choose some notes and some sounds that have very slow attacks. And all of a sudden you'll sound like a virtuoso because you got time to prepare to put your fingers in the right places. When it gets to where you have to design in the nuances, so these are like little things that are characteristic of, early, you're starting to use the tools. Same thing in gospel. In gospel, everything's based around the organ, the piano, and that whole experience. So you have a trade-off going on there. You got the piano taking care of one part, and then the organ's taking care of the other, and the organ never really shuts off. It's just amen and everything you do quarterly on the piano. So there's an interplay between those two instruments, and the nuance of a church experience is how well the organist uses the pedals, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
How well he uses the blend, where he goes back and forth between being primary and secondary. And if you ever listen to, well, not all organ, but a lot of gospel organ, you'll understand what I'm talking about. There are certain times when you'll hear it and the organ is just there, and all of a sudden the preachers interact and everything's going on. The organ is amen. The organ is used as this counter to everything going on, and it's a very
the organ,
you learn
the
a
hype
lot.
man.
It's the hype man. Yeah, it's the hype man. Just like you have the hype man in rap, that's what the organ guy is in church. You learn a lot listening to church production. It's really interesting. But same thing, like I said, it's just a sound design. You're like right around the corner from sound design. So keep going.
Yeah. Cool. One of the other things I want to get into is Bill, I don't know if you're probably listening to us right now, but I know you said you had Logic set up, and I wanted to see if you wanted to get in and maybe show a couple of things from your point of view. And you got some new toys if you want to show them off or anything, or
Yeah, I'm listening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm not sure. I've got a lot of wires going all over creation that I've been fixing up while you guys have been doing it, so I'm not sure anything's actually gonna work. Can you hear this?
Yeah, we got you. Turn it up a little bit if you can.
All right. Let's see. Hold on. So you need louder than that, you're saying?
What does everybody else think? Could it be louder? That's okay. That's cool.
That's okay?
Yeah.
All right. Let me turn myself down. Hold on a second. Let me switch to my...
Yeah, Joseph got the cat up in there.
Ah.
It's funny, man.
All right. Are you seeing Logic?
Yes, we are.
All
Your
right.
blue box.
Okay, cool. Basically, what I was looking at was something I was talking with Vladi about a few days ago, which is like vocal stuff. So, my vocals down here in yellow. So, if I go over here to the yellow section, I have 4 things set up right now. The first one, bus 10, if I go over here, is the 140, which is this. Bus 11 is the 250. And then, let's see.
Just for those of you that don't know, that's EMT's reverbs, 140 plate and the EMT 250.
Yeah, and 12 and 13 are the RS1 and the microshift. So the different points of these, like the RS1, for instance, would be early reflections. And the point of early reflections being that you can basically push the element back. Like early reflections, let's call it, that's the distance between the element and the listener. So let's see, my RS1 is on 12. So if I go back over here and turn my vocal on,
see the old man on the bridge, he's all in up a sagging net, and it's full of eels twisting through the eye sockets of a horse's head, and this fiend has no family.
I don't know if you're talking, Bill, but I don't hear you at all.
okay, I
Okay.
failed to solo my camera. Okay, what I was saying, Khaliq, did that sound any different to you as I was adding in the RS1?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to explain
All right,
what was happening?
Yeah, let me try that again. All right, so now I have the camera mic soloed. Now I have the vocal soloed. All right, so what's going on here is this is a send to bus 12. We're going to turn this all the way. This is the volume of the send, and then we're going to go from here. If I double click this, it shows you this. This is the RS1, which is that over there. So what's happening is the vocal is playing on its own, going to stereo out, but then the RS1 is also playing to stereo out. So it's a parallel. It's not in serial, which would be taking this and putting it actually on this track.
Right.
So
you want to explain what the RS1 is to anybody that might not know?
Yeah, the RS1. Well, it's the stock UAD reflection engine. So it's basically a reverb, but in this configuration, what it does particularly well is add early reflections without adding late reflections. So if you wanted late reflections, for instance, you might add the 140, which is off of 10. So this would be an example of late reflection.
See the old man on the bridge, he's all in a sagging net, and it's full of eels twisting through the sockets of the horse's head, and this
And 250 does something similar.
Has no family, so he will outlive you and me.
So you can hear it when you stop it more. Like if you just let the element go and then you stop it, you can hear the tail on.
Yep, yep.
See the old man.
And then if I don't use that, if I use 13, wait, let me make sure. Nope, that's the micro shift. If I use 12 instead,
See the old man.
see how it cut off a lot faster than the other one did. So, like I said, the early reflections are used basically as pushing the element back from somebody, with the point being that if you're standing right in front of somebody and the walls are far away from you to the left and the right, they're going to get your voice first, and they might not get the early reflections at all, but if they do, they'll get them way later. So then if you're farther back from somebody, then when you speak to them, your voice will get there, but then the early reflections will bounce off the walls or the floor or the ceiling, whatever, and get to them closer to the same time as the original sound. So that's when you add that in, it seems like, okay, since I'm hearing reflections at the same time that I'm hearing the original sound, this person must be farther back. It's like the psychological.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep.
See the old man on the bridge, he's all in a sag.
And then the idea is to blend them. So you get your early reflections from, let's see, 12, which is here the RS1, and then maybe you get your late from the let's see, the 140.
See the old man on the bridge, he's all in a sagging net, and it's full.
And then you might decide that this is a little too much low end for you, so you might want to high pass this. So you can do this with turning the EQ on and then selecting where you want to high pass it and ducking the gain. So let's duck the gain and then we'll decide where you want.
See the old man on the bridge, he's all in a sagging net, and it's full of eels twisting through the eye sockets of a horse's head, and this feels
So that way you can build whatever stacks you want as far as early reflections and late reflections. And then 13 is the microshift. So if I turn these off, then you can hear what this sounds like, which is basically pitch shifting left and right. So you have detune, which is the difference between the left side and the right side. And then you have delay, which is the timing difference between the left side and the right side. And you have 3 different styles depending on what you want to hear. And then what focus does is the effect, it's a high pass on the effect. So it's not a high pass on the actual signal, but it's where the effect starts as far as the low end of the frequency range. And then you have mix, dry to wet, which since it's a send return, or an aux as some people call it, it's 100% wet. So
see the old man on the bridge, he's all in a sagging net, and it's full of eels twisting through the eye sockets of a horse's head, and this fiend has no family. So he will outlive you and me. In the hospital, you're talked about, thumbing down that truck ride for the first time, and the false friend kept his back turned. That's when you learn the fierceness of mankind, how long it took to reach the.
okay, so we're up there loud, that's why it's kind of sizzling there, so we'd have to turn this all down, but that's the basic idea. That you would set this stuff up and then you'd make your entire mix out of it. Any questions?
Quick question for you. Well, not a question so much, because I want to see if, I don't know if it's too late or not. Did you guys get that Eventide Ultra Channel plugin? Because I think if there's any time left, it's only a couple of days if it's still available. It's got the micro shift in there and a bunch of other stuff all in one plugin. Do you guys have that already?
Yeah. Yeah, I was able to get it.
It's
Yeah,
available.
Yeah, I
for
got mine.
days.
I'll
Okay.
switch this out for it. Let's see, Eventide. Whoops, I think I put a mono on. Hold on.
Does anybody remember when the deadline was? I remember it was like the first week of July, but I can't remember the date.
Yeah, it's on like 7th or 8th. It's like tomorrow. It's tomorrow or the next day, something like that.
Okay, so anybody watching this, if it's not too late yet, but it will be. This has got to be
It's
one
a pretty,
of the greatest giveaways that
yeah.
I've seen.
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful plugin.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's turn this stuff off.
See the old man on the bridge.
Wait a minute. I got this on still.
See the old man on the bridge, he's all in a sagging net, and it's full of eels twisting through the eye sockets of a horse's head, and this fiend has no family. So he will outlive you and me.
Bill, can you compress that the output on that microshift?
I can. I don't know that you can put the compressors, because there are two compressors.
Right.
I don't know that you can put those in front of, because you can move them around. I don't know that you can put them behind the shift, but I don't think you can. But I could compress that.
See the old man on the bridge, he's all in up, sagging net, and it's full of eels twisting through the eye sockets of a horse's head, and this fiend has no family.
That's actually interesting. That sounds different, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But yeah, you can do that. You got your EQ on it.
Mm-hmm.
You also have your gate, and there's a second compressor. I think the oppressor, the omnipressor, has a lot more character than this compressor. So this is more useful if you're trying to give something a particular tone.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Some of my old school favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Good stuff. And like you said, Khaliq, I think it's free until tomorrow or the next day. It's like the 7th or the 8th, something like that.
Yeah. I couldn't believe they were actually giving it away. You know, usually they'll give maybe a piece of it or something like that. It's
Right.
like, oh, this is amazing. You know, so anybody that hasn't gotten it, if you didn't get it by now, you may miss out unless you see this today or tomorrow.
That's true.
Run to Eventide and see if you can still get it.
Run, don't walk.
Yep. Very cool, Bill. Let me ask you this now. Going back to your reverbs and stuff like that too, I think it'd be very helpful to go back and explain a little bit more of the role playing each one's doing, because you've got the early reflection one playing that role. You've got a plate, and then you've got another digital reverberator that is simulating another part of the space. You've got frequencies, the way they're stacking, and we were talking about frequency stacking, and these reverbs and stuff like that stack within that as well. So maybe explain what each one is, the role that in what you were going for. I think it'll be helpful to people.
Basically, the way I use verbs is something I got off of a Fab DuPont video that he did, which is basically the RS1 would be the first thing, which is, as I said, that would be the distance between the element and the listener. So, for instance, if you have a bass guitar, where some people don't like to put reverb on bass or whatever, but you don't necessarily want the bass all the way up in the front anyway. So what you'll do is you'll send the bass to the RS1 to get early reflections, again, to say, instead of the bass amp being right in front of you and that's all you hear, the bass amp is further away from you, so you're getting reflections almost at the same time off of walls or ceilings or whatever.
Now let's just distinguish that real quick too, because it's real important. First of all, pinning it down. So we're talking about electric bass versus synth bass, for example, possibly. You know, is that correct? Because you said the bass amp and things like that.
Yes, that's true.
And I'm not limiting it to that, but I'm just saying kind of in general, so that people have a thought process.
What I was specifically saying right now had to do with a bass being played through an amp, but it's the same story. If you have, like, let's say you have a jazz trio and you have a bassist, you may or may not be in the front row, and even if you are in the front row, the stage might be farther away from you. It's not necessarily that you're sitting right in front of the bass. Right. So you'll get something, even if you think about it, like, let's not even say the walls on the sides. Let's just think about the floor. So if the sound of a actually played acoustic bass is coming to you, the sound that bounces off the floor is going to get to you a little bit later, but not much later. See what I'm saying? Because the bass is basically on the floor. So you're going to get a reflection regardless of what. You're not going to get just a pure bass sound. So that's one of the things. Another thing is, depending on how, like, let's say you set up drums and you set up a drum room, then if the drums sound like they're far away from you and then the bass doesn't, that might not work for the listener as far as having them get immersed into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And here's another extension of that as well, because people tend to forget, so they think about these things being compartmentalized into one thing. This is bass, this, you know, each one is separate, but you got to still think of them as a all-in-one sound that we're hearing and all-in-one experience. So realizing, like you said, if you make the decision that you may need to put up early reflections on the bass cabinet or even reverb or whatever, the reason why you might do something like that is because you want to simulate or create an experience, knowing that, first of all, going back to the basic foundations of us knowing that bass tones are going to be omnidirectional. They're going to arrive at us at all different directions, smeared together and everything, so they're not going to be point sourced as much. So you use that knowledge to your advantage when you use reverbs and things like that, and they all build in. All of these other little things come to play with it to stack up the experience. So yeah, that's a very good point, man. You know, you can put these early reflections. That's why I said, now, while we may be talking about an electric bass and all that, but you can do these with synth basses and things like that too. It depends on what you're trying to do. And also, like, for example, there are times when maybe, like, say, for example, if you're playing jazz and you're doing a jazz trio, well, and the bass player is playing an upright bass. Well, the upright bass needs to have a different presence and a different arrival to the listener experience than the kick drum. You know, one of the biggest mistakes I made when I first was doing jazz and like working with Herbie and some of those guys was I originally started trying to record my drums like they were pop drums, the way I learned, pop or R&B, and I made them too in their face, you know, they were too apparent, you know, and so then I realized for the style, okay, I had to adjust that, because actually in a jazz thing, you don't really hear a whole lot of the kick drum. The kick drum is kind of ghosted back there. You know, all those frequencies can kind of be smeared and blended in more with the overall room experience, and then the upright bass needed to have more of the arrive at you first presence, you know, so, and it didn't matter that the kick drum sounded a little farther back. So it's a pretty interesting thing, depending on what you're going with, how you can use these to craft where the experience comes from, how it arrives at you.
Right, and also, while we're talking about reverbs, another thing that can be done is using the reverb as a pre-fader send as opposed to a post fader.
Yeah.
And one of the points of that would be that, let's say you wanted to push something way back, like let's say you wanted a piano to make sound, but you want to give the impression this piano is far back in the room. Then what you could do is, instead of turning the fader to the piano way down and turning the send way up, you can make it a pre-fader send, turn the fader all the way down, and then you can only send the piano coming through the reverb, which makes it in the back, and it's a totally different experience. Now, I said piano, that's not something I would normally do with a piano, but something like maybe a pad or a synth or something that you want to be kind of there in the background, but not necessarily poignant as far as transients. You could do something like that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny how all that arrived too, basically, because back in the day, like, you know, when I first started learning how to do that technique, it was almost kind of, you know, it's always a creative decision, but it actually came out of the mixing consoles at the time when we had, you know, we had the separate tracking section and then the separate playback section from the tape. And so you had to send stuff to the, you know, you had to send the cue mixes to the instrumentalists or whatever as one type of mix, and then be able to monitor a different mix in the control room. And then because and the main reason why for things like that to blend in and everything is a lot of times I actually believe, I don't know who first did it, but it probably started from a mistake, because sometimes when you would forget to do something like that and forget that you're sending to it, and you where's that reverb coming from? You think you got everything turned off and one thing is ghosting through, and then somebody realized, oh, that's kind of a cool effect. Because back in the day, on our effects stuff and all that, we did not have mix knobs like we have now on most things. There was no such thing as having a mix knob where you can change dry versus wet, so it was all through the console on how things were sent. So it's like you can achieve the same thing. The only thing that people have to realize too when you do a technique like that, because it's so cool, I used to love doing that for things like if you want to say a ghostly background vocal sound, that's when you might want to do pre-fader as opposed to using a post-fader send, because they always sound like in the back ghostly. But the only thing you have to remember when doing stuff like that is to monitor that, because the levels don't change. As you change your levels in your mix and everything, be sure that you still get the same balance, because pre-fader obviously is not going to change according to the rest of the stuff. But it's such a cool technique, to get that kind of ghostly, otherworldly, way back there kind of effect that you can't necessarily get the same way going directly through it.
Right. And then as far as the 140, as far as plate reverb, that's used to indicate, we'll call it the distance from the element to the back of the room. So you're trying to dictate the size of the area where the instrument is being played by using these different reflections. So your early reflections tells you how far away from the listener it is, and then your plate is going to tell you how far away it is from the back of the room. So you have, depending on how far back it is, you have more reflections. And then the 250 is similar, but I would call the 250 more lushness or height. I don't really know how to explain it, but besides the fact that this one, supposedly this was collaborated on with the guy that actually made the original one. So it has more than reverb. It has a delay on it. It has a phaser on it, chorus on it, echo, which is basically a mono delay, and this thing called space, which is like just a long. Let me see if I can play space real quick. It's ultra channel 250 is on 11.
Yeah, the MT250 was definitely one of the secret sauce vocal reverbs and effector, the effector buttons that you have on there. Amazing.
Let's see here.
See the old man on the
going. Hold on a second.
See the old man on the bridge, he's all in the sagging neck, and it's full.
And this is the pre-delay right here.
Ears twisting through the eye sockets of the horse's head, and this fiend has no family. So
what I want you guys to listen to, because he has that space on it, and it's basically doing kind of an endless kind of thing.
Yeah,
like
it is.
But,
like a 10-second reverb.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the reason why the MT250 was one of the favorite vocal and, just reverberators, period, back in the day, and it's legendary now, is because I don't know if you guys noticed it, but with all that going on, did you see how clear the voice still sounded with all that stuff on there? Take a listen to something like that and compare it to other things and watch how they kind of mush over and just smear. And the 250 is one of those ones, it's like one of the clearest spaces.
See the old man on the bridge, he's all in a sagging neck.
Yeah, I love it. The things
Lovely,
are,
right?
Yeah, they were lovely, man. Things are heavy too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But so that would be more the let's say the height of the room, or but then again, it doesn't have to be. The way I'm explaining this is as if you're trying to place elements in a particular venue. That's one way to think about it. But another way to think about it is that you might want to make a non-realistic setup. So you might want to have something that has this space thing on it, which wouldn't make any sense. Like whatever room everything else is in, this one thing has all this extra reverb on it. And depending on the type of music you're doing and the effect you're going for, you can make it not realistic as opposed to attempting to make it realistic, which is another point of using reverbs on your rooms or whatever track you're working on.
Absolutely. And see, and there's another thing, like for example, I'm glad you went on that effect there that's so extreme and everything, because what a lot of people seem to forget about is, and so they may discount something like that. You don't have to use this through the whole song. That could simply be done as a splash. You know, something that just gets sent in as an effect for something, and then it trails out and it's gone, and the song just keeps moving along. So, you know, 'cause a lot of people think that once you put a reverb on, just leave it on and bam. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Let me try with the drum, because I don't even have a drum room on. So let me try with the drums just to show how the drums are dry, but you have like this extra vocal thing.
Mm-hmm.
See the old man on the bridge, he's all in a sagging net. It's full of eels twisting through the eye sockets of a horse's head, and this fiend has no family. So he will outlive you and me. In the hospital, you're talked about, thumbing down that truck ride for the first time, and the false friend kept his back turned. That's when you learn the fierceness of mankind. How long it took to reach the sister cities.
You see what I mean? How it's like different spaces.
Yep, yep. Yeah. Anybody else want to comment on that? Y'all can jump in on your impressions and things like that. And how
No, that was a great example, I think, you know, especially when you shut it off and you could hear that space just keep
Oh
going.
yeah, it just keeps going, right?
And it did build up. It wasn't it. That was the really nice part about that particular sound. It didn't start ringing, you know, and
Yeah.
blocking out other you know, parts of the song. No,
That's
I
the difference
that.
between a good quality plug-in. See, a lot of people think you can just put any reverb plug-in, and reverb is just reverb. But no, it's little stuff like that that makes a difference. That was a good thing to pick up on, Joseph, because you know the better ones you can just keep sending and sending into them, and they don't clog up and smear up like you know the cheaper ones do, or the lesser algorithms. You know.
Right.
And then
I
like
have no
Khaliq was
clue how they
saying-
make those.
Sorry, Joe. What were you saying?
No, that's all right. I have no clue what it takes to make an algorithm that sounds better than another one, you know. That's like
And the other
rocket
thing
science
that
to me.
Khaliq was talking about is that, all right, so the 250 is on 11, right? So it's 11 here. So there's a send to 11, which is what I was using to determine how much reverb I have on it. But then you also have a return fader. See? So you have two different places where you can actually deal with that. So let's say I move that up to zero or unity, whatever, right? Then now I can still use this fader and decide what I want to do with the effect.
See the old man on the bridge, he's all in a sagging net. It's full of eels twisting through the eye sockets of a horse's head, and this fiend has no family. So he will outlive you and me.
Yep.
And while we're on the topic, it says it up on the top of the screen, but this is a song by Hop Along called Sister Cities, which is a track that I got, a multi-track I got from Shaking Through. Which is
Okay, I was going to say, put a shout out to the...
Yeah, shout out to Weather Vane, Brian McTeer, Peter English. Really good work they do over there.
Cool, yep. Yeah, that's really cool. What I like to, I still have yet to go over there and just download some stuff, but I need to do that and play with some of that stuff over there, because that's another good practice track where you can, it's got, the vocals, the acoustic guitars, live. So there's a lot of good stuff that you could practice in to really hear what your equipment is doing from a lot of different sources.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, so I like that stuff. Cool, guys.
That's Weather Vane?
Yeah, weathervanemusic.org.
No kidding.
Yeah. And the series is called Shaking Through. Basically what they do is they, in the course of a year, they bring through 10 indie bands, and they spend a couple of days on them. The first day is tracking, the second day is mixing. So they do, on live stream, they stream both days, and then eventually they make videos which talk about the artists, and they talk about the production and the mixing that they did, and they also output the multi-tracks so you can mix them, which is what I'm looking at right here. They output the stems, so if you just wanted to see how it is that they ended up doing it, you can listen to that. And they also output the track sheet, so you can see like what microphones they used, what drums they used, what compressors, EQs, etc. So yeah, it's really comprehensive. They do a lot of good work. They're out of Philadelphia, out of Minor Street Recordings.
I put the link in the chat.
Cool.
Yeah, shaking through. Cool, guys. Yeah. Well, this is cool. Yeah, everybody, we're going to wrap this up, but this is really cool. This is more about what we've been talking about, doing this a lot. So I want to do this more regularly as well. And if you guys can investigate what it may take for you to be able to play some music through like this, I think it'll be real helpful to everybody, and just way more interactive too. So maybe investigate. If you're on a Mac, figure out how to use Soundflower to get your audio in. If you're on a PC, I don't know, I know it can be done, but just because I'm not using a PC, I don't know what plugin it will take to go through, or even if you need plugins. But just investigate it and see what's up. I'd love to get you guys on here.
Excellent.
Yep. So if anybody else got any little final things, we're going to wrap it up here because I got to get me some lunch. I'm hungry.
Khaliq, can you hear me?
Yes, got you.
Yes.
Christique, one of our artists, wants to know if you could give her any advice on changing notes fast, like going from a C to a D type, the toggle, like hey, that, how to change notes fast.
Change notes fast on what?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
When she's singing, she has trouble changing notes.
Oh, okay.
Like if she has to go from C to D to E, she has trouble changing notes. Like, and how would she? Is there anything that you know of that would help her increase that?
Yeah, yeah. Sing to a metronome, sing scales to a metronome because that'll make you have to nail it while the metronome's going, and then just gradually increase the time. You know, it's no different than what we do when we're playing guitar. You know, we start out with the do, re, mi, and we started a low thing till you can do it without no mistakes, and then started out doing it maybe a quarter note. You know, dun, 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 you know, so she can just do the same thing with, you know, with the two notes, you know, then between the two notes, then eighth notes, and then maybe I can't even do the triple notes. Forget my singing or anything. But I'm just saying the thing is just if you want to know how to go between two notes, you just got to set a benchmark timing and then see if you can do it and stay in time with the metronome. And once you got it, you know, go to the next thing until you can go as fast as you can go. Basically, when you start going real fast between that just becomes tremolo in your voice, you know. But that's how a lot of people can do it. But also another thing that can help you do it is, you ever listen to those I would say like Arab singers and people like that do those little you know what I'm talking about? They do that kind of stuff all the time. So if you can master stuff like that, that'll get you right on it, because they're always going between that kind of stuff. But it's a technique. But for Americans and using the normal regular tonal scale, you've got to do it. I'll tell you somebody who's a great singer that she blew me away when she did. I used to work with her, was Layla Hathaway. She's the daughter of singer Donny Hathaway. Those of you who are too young to know, you might want to look that up, but Donny Hathaway was a legend, and his daughter Layla is a beast as far as a singer. Great, I mean, jazz, pop, and everything like that. But she also does that kind of singing. So she blew me away one day when I just checked her out. She was just started busting into that Middle Eastern type of singing or whatever it is. And I was like floored. I mean, she had it nailed too, and it's not easy to do.
Okay, I'll tell her to start singing Hindu, Middle Eastern type songs and do it to a metronome and increase her speed. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And
also,
scales.
There's a singer, Lisa Gerard. She was on that Gladiator movie, the soundtrack.
Okay.
Yeah, I first heard of her. There's a group that she was in called Dead Can Dance. One of my friends was telling me about her, and it was just kind of like, oh yeah, well, you know, but you know, she became mainstream, you know, when that Gladiator movie came out.
Okay, Lisa Gerard, Gladiator soundtrack, Dead Can Dance?
Yeah, the name of the group was Dead Can Dance, and there's a lot of that kind of going from one note to another kind of type singing.
I think it is the coolest thing, like when you saw Khaliq smile when he talked about it, to hear the Hindu or Indian, whatever it is. I think that is the coolest thing when they're doing that.
Oh yeah, yeah, man, it is. It's so cool. I mean, and plus, see, they use different scales than we do, so they really kind of get in between the notes that we do, you know. And it's pretty amazing. It's an amazing thing.
My dog heard you, and he's trying to do that.
Yeah, he gets between the notes too. Yeah.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Now, yeah, Mod, I've got, this is the metronome I'm using now. I busted it back out to practice for my guitar. But, you know, she just the main thing is doing the scales, you know, la da 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 da, you know, just do that, and then double it up, da 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 da, then you know, you just keep doing that, and then have her increase the speed when she wants to go through it, and go through all the keys, you know. So I'm staying in the one key, but da 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 da, and then go up da 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 da, la 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 la, whatever note she's gonna sing, you know, whatever vocal exercise she does, she can do that. But the metronome will get her used to moving her voice anywhere, up and down, and then like I said, then just double it up and try all kinds of different stuff, make it a fun game out of it. That's probably going to help a whole lot, because that's pretty much what any instrumentalist does, is they basically learn how to play their instrument and go through these scales, you know. And vocalists do it too. This is how they warm up. You know, most of the great vocalists warm up, and they go through scales like that. They start low, you know, take a note, hit it on the piano, and they run through it and come back down and move on up. And then after a while, if you want to get speed and dexterity, you just got to increase it on the metronome.
Let's see, I've downloaded metronomes onto my phone. Please tell me that you do get apps and you do apps, right, Khaliq?
I got tons of apps on here, brother.
Yeah,
got tons of apps. I got metronomes on here, tuners and all that. But it's just easier to grab it on here because I got apps and hardware. Don't forget about hardware.
Okay. I'm like, don't tell me you ain't got no apps at all, Khaliq.
Oh yeah. I got that, but you know, I got tuners on, guitar tuners and everything, but this is a tuner too. So I'm gonna plug into this. I ain't trying to plug into this.
I went to Guitar Center and bought a tuner, and then as soon as I got home, you know they got an app for that, right? A free one too. Oh, wow. So, you know, live and learn.
Yeah.
This is the one I use.
What's that?
This is Snark.
Yeah,
it's kind of like cheating. It's a guitar tuner.
Okay,
you just stick it on your headstock of your guitar, and it points at you, so you can hit a string, and then it has a gauge. It tells you what note it is.
I thought you were going to say that was a metronome, but okay.
No, it's got a little beeper on it that will be a metronome. Yes.
Oh, here we go.
You got it.
Pull it out.
Yeah, that's it.
Snark.
The Snark. Yeah, these are pretty cool. Yeah, you can really see them too, and for the first 20 hours at least, and they'll pick up your voice too, Mott.
Yeah.
If you sing a note, it'll pick your voice up as well.
We play games with the vocalists, like see if they can hold a note, keep the tuner at a certain note with their voice, just like it's a little video game.
That's a great exercise, man.
Yeah, it is.
And until they find out how hard it is. Yeah, they sit there, they think they're doing good, and that tuner is just moving up, moving away. Like, oh, I thought you were good at this. Now you said you were good. But,
yeah.
All right.
I've got one of those tuner apps on here, and it's a great way to practice or just kind of figure out what's up, and it will tell you.
What I'm doing now, Anorams has gone to lunch, but we're gonna work on tone. Like singers start singing, they have good timing, whatever else, and I'm sitting here with this microphone, and I can't figure out why I don't like the singing. And what it turns out is, what hit me was I don't like certain tones. Like the sound itself just doesn't sound good to me. Even if they do it emotionally right, it's like something is just not right. So then I go and load up stuff that we talked about, like Old Blue Eyes. What's his name?
Frank Sinatra.
I go and I load up Frank Sinatra, and I listen, and there's this. It's like, hold on, this is a very natural, clean, it's just nice. And then I say, okay, sing for me. And there's a strain, and I'm like, why are you straining? You sound like you have to go to the restroom. So then I go back, I play Frank. And it's just this easy. Then I go play Whitney Houston, and I listen. I'm like, this tone, sing again. And I had an epiphany. Let's just say the tones that I'm getting out of singers, I'm not liking. And so now we're listening and trying to mimic, not necessarily like sound like Frank Sinatra or anything like that, but there's an ease at which he sings. Sarah Vaughan. There's just a natural sound that does something to you, or like a singer might sing and they're trying to convey that I love you, but they're straining as they do it, and the tone coming from it just isn't. It just isn't. So that's where I'm at right now, and I never caught this before. I never caught this. Was a huge revelation to me. The guitarists were constantly saying, "Wow, we got to get good tones, And I'd hear all these tones, and they all sounded dope to me, all of them. And they say, "Oh, this one ain't so good." Well, now with the singers, I'm like, I just don't like that. Yeah, you said it cool, and I understand emotion and all that. I understand emotion, but I never did. I'm like, this tone, this is new to me, bro. Your tone is crap.
You know what I'll tell you is a big missing element that I think if you guys figure out a way to get this injected in regularly, you will have it. Because all those singers that you mentioned, the one thing, and a lot of people don't do it now, the one thing is live experience, performing live. That's why, see, it's like, I don't know if you've ever recorded live drums or whatever. A live drummer playing the exact same kit, you can put two different people on and have it set up perfectly, and the drum kit sounds great, and put on several different drummers, but the cats that don't get it will make that drum kit sound like crap. And then the other, you get the guy that gets it. If a Ricky Lawson or a guy like that come in on even the worst sounding drums, they'll make it suddenly sound right and pop. The tone will be right because the instrument is the instrumentalist, how they attack it. So a singer, a big part of the tone is from performing live. They bring a lot of that to the table. We talk a lot about the microphones and a lot about all the other stuff, but when you've got a great singer that really understands and gets it, all that other stuff is so secondary. I mean, I guarantee you, Shaka Khan can come in and sing on anything. You know, Aretha Franklin and all these old school legends can come in and sing on anything. They don't care what you get it. And even like going even worse, there's been times when they didn't have to sing on nothing, you know, because maybe the equipment went down and they still make it come through. It is the instrument of that person themselves. And getting that is from performing more live. There's something that I really feel that you just can never truly get it by only being in the studio. You can get close, you can simulate it, you can capture moments, but until you know how to interact it in real time with the flow and energy of an audience and getting feedback, or even not even if it's not even an audience. If you don't want to go out live, go out on the damn street corner. Have your singers go out and do like in the old days, like they did when folks was just singing out in the neighborhood, you know, on the stoop as they call it in New York and all that, I guess. There's something about that you can't teach. It's an experiential thing, you know. So there's something about that.
Khaliq, that is why I'm hearing this stuff. That's exactly why I'm hearing this stuff, because you guys, you know, have had me have like our singers sing to somebody, and then you know, you hear the response, and it's like, hold on, you didn't pull that emotion, you didn't pull that feeling off right there. And there's several ways you could have did it. But after having these singers go through and do that over and over and over, that's what made me actually catch this thing right here. And yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to increase it more and more, because I don't even want to get in the vocal booth. It's pretty bad. I don't even want people getting into the vocal booth until they know how to until they can perform the song. And I would prefer them perform the song from beginning to end, one take, just sing it as a performance and move me the whole way through. That's what I want. And it's like, it feels like a waste of my time right now for them to go into the vocal booth and they don't know the song and they can't do this. And that's how anal I'm getting about this stuff. And this is stuff I didn't care about before, I couldn't hear. And now I'm having this experience where it's like, nah, that's below our standards. What do you mean it's not below your standards? It's below my standards, and if you're going to be working with me, I'm training you, we're going for this, because I want to go for way more than what people around me are going for. Like, I really want, I need my artists to be able to come to you, sing for you, be, oh man, he worked with Whitney Houston, hold on, and sing for you, and you say, oh, you did all right, you did a good job. I want that. And they're not going to get it by shortchanging themselves in the way that they were doing.
Well, a lot of energy,
what you guys said.
Yeah, and a lot of energy, like I said, you can get a lot of that from each other in the thing. So, you know, I mean, do this, man. Have some of your folks sometimes, y'all just hanging out, say, you know what, we in here in this building. Come on, let's go on outside and do some doo-wop. You know, let's do like simulate the old school doo-wop back in the days. Can we do it? You know, we ain't back in the 50s or 60s or whatever, but let's go on outside and just sing outside for some folks. We don't even know what we're going to sing, but they didn't know either. They went on out there and said, okay, you take the bass, you take the mid part, and then they suddenly start creating harmonies, makes everybody start listening to each other. You know, you start thinking about, you see some crazy fool speeding up and down the street. Okay, we're going to sing about that. Let's come up with something. And it gets just get your creative juices going off the top of your head on some of the wildest stuff. But it makes you get away from trying to be a singer. You just start feeling like, let's create, and then it gets everybody into a more camaraderie kind of thing too. This is the thing that I used to like when I was coming up, and I really need to do it more to get back to the guitar and stuff like that, because it's like when I used to take my guitar outside and jam with other cats that was just hanging around, that's when I got better faster. When I used to carry it to clubs and stuff like that, you know, sitting into a room and all that's cool and everything, but sometimes you just got to go out and do some real-time stuff with some folks. Don't even care if you look silly, don't know what's up and everything, but you start laughing and everything and having fun, because it's like, hey, let's just go outside and sing, you know, let's do that today for the exercise, you know. You got them simulating instruments. Okay, today let's go outside and sing. We're gonna be a band, and you know, you be the beatbox today. Okay, you the bass today and everything. And let's just come up with something. Let's come up with a groove. Let's go outside and jam. Let's just have a jam session, you know. Do little stuff like that. Ain't nobody else doing that. I guarantee you, ain't nobody else doing. That's going to make y'all unique. That's going to make y'all tap into something that you never thought about. Right. And suddenly it's going to start coming together in ways that ain't nobody else heard. You're like, wow, what are those cats doing up there? Wow, I like that.
Consider that implemented.
Yeah, man.
I got a confession for you. You know, there's guys that we meet on Wednesdays, and we sing together and we play. There's a bass player, piano player, and 2 acoustic guitar players. And I throw some electric in there periodically. And we've done a lot of coffee houses and crap like that. But one of the problems that we had, we started this about 6 years ago, was and I kind of was part of the problem. I wanted, you know, the timing, you know, to be tight. You know, I used to tell them, man, you got to get tight to get loose. In other words, you got to know your shit for other people to perceive it as it's easy.
All right.
You really got to know what you're doing, and that takes practice. And I was like the drill sergeant, you know, and I kind of had this feeling where, like, all right, screw all this shit. And when they came the next Wednesday, then we started going Wednesdays and Fridays, right? And because I wanted to get tightened up a little more, I took a different approach because it wasn't fun anymore. In other words, they weren't smiling, we weren't laughing the same, and so I told them the story about, like, when you were a kid. Did you ever make up a game? You know, like you know, you don't have any toys. When I was a kid, where I was at, there was no toys in the front yard and crap like that, man. We had, you know, we made our own stuff up, right?
Know what you mean, bro.
So that was some of the funnest games that I ever played, were just spontaneous. They were made up on the spot. And that's how we started practicing. And that laughter and that fun came back to the program. And that really worked fantastic, because when we went out to just little things. We started doing parties and crap like that. And I'll tell you what, man, it was like a jam session every time.
Yeah.
Although there was some serious moments, don't get me wrong, you know, but yeah, that is a key thing, man. It really is. Because when you feel that fun, and I'll tell you, when I did this in college, I was not the best singer at all. I only could hit about 4 or 5 notes really good, and that was it. And my tone wasn't the most pleasing for whatever reason, you know, too nasally or whatever. But I just didn't have the quality to my voice that I strove for, and like, no, it just wasn't there. So I made up for it with the way I interacted with the kids, with the audience. In other words, I performed it. I performed my songs rather than singing and playing. I figure, okay, if you can't sing that good, then you got to be a really good guitar player. Geez, I'm not a really good guitar player either. And well, if I'm not a good guitar player, then I got to really sing good. Well, I couldn't really do that either. I mean, I was average or better, right? But not great, and I never will be, because it's just not in me. You know, I'm not born with that thing. So I did the next thing, and that was perform. Yeah. I interacted with the audience, and they had a great time, and they thought I was a hell of a lot better than I was.
Music is about connecting. When you connect with people, they think you're great. That's the bottom line.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. You know, this might sound silly, but there's something about the exchange of energy in a live situation where it feeds off of. Yeah. You know, I don't really know the words for it, but it's like when everybody in the room is feeling the same emotion, it can make the hair stand up on your arms, man, on the back of your neck. I mean, it just really, it amplifies it. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Harvey Levin from TMZ had a show on TV called Famous in 12, where he just took this random family and tried to see if we took somebody else, because, you know, like he was saying, Paris Hilton and the Kardashians, Kim Kardashian and all them, they already were in, and they had plenty of resources, you know, big names behind them, big money behind them. So they got famous, you know, but they still had an in. So even no matter whether you do the sex tape and all, it wasn't just that. They were already in and they had a huge head start. He was wondering, could I just take any random family and put them on by just, you know, putting them in front, giving them a couple opportunities, but then leaving it up to them to build their fame in 12. Well, what ended up happening was, in the end, they actually couldn't do it. Reason being was because everybody said they wanted to be famous. You know, he always asked them, did you want it? It all comes with a cost and everything. And it really kind of ended up boiling down to fame costs a lot more than just saying that you want it, you know. So, like, they had one girl, for example, that said she wanted to be a dancer, but yet, you know, when she got a huge opportunity, she didn't create a routine. She didn't study a real dancing thing. The guy asked her, well, what did you do? And she basically just let him know, well, basically, I just improvised. I winged it, you know. Like, bad move, you know, you ain't really trying to do it, you know. It's because it's not about how great you are. You don't necessarily have to be the very best, but you got to really have that fire in your gut that makes you do stuff that's like, okay, I got this audition with this guy and everything, and I know that he's dealt with one of the biggest people biggest groups in history out there and everything. I'm getting in front of him. He's going to give me eyeballs. I need to do whatever I got to do to prepare before I go see this guy. Not get up in front of him and wing it and hope he's going to, you know. So she got up there and started dancing, and, you know, she's all right just doing kind of the ordinary club dancing that, you know, your sister would do or whatever, you know. And that was not going to fly. They had another girl on there that said she wanted to be a singer, but, you know, all through the thing, never heard her sing. You know, real singers, you hear them all the time. You can't shut a real singer up most of the time. They're always singing. You know, you got to do it if that's what you claim you're doing. You got to be ready to do it. That's why when we talk with Maat, and we always put these people on you know, blast right away. It's like, oh, you're a singer? Okay, sing. Because that's what a real singer does. It shouldn't be no question, oh, you should be ready to go. You should be doing it all the time, and nobody should have to do it. She got an opportunity in the studio with a couple producers and everything that had some decent hits or whatever. And I think they decided to work with her because, of course, you know, if you've got Harvey Levin and TMZ exposure, that's better than starting completely from scratch. But the honest thing was, is just she simply was not a passionate singer. She kind of wanted to sing. She had a nice voice, but nothing spectacular. She wasn't really working on it. When she was singing, she was all timid and chewing on her words. She'd sing and look over after every line. It was not coming from this place of, this is coming from inside me, my heart, my soul, my gut. You know, you've got to have that intangible thing. So this is why I'm saying, what I was saying to Maat, you know, if you get your folks to start just really being about what it is and not even thinking about the studio, y'all being singers and performers and everything, you should, that's how it was in Motown. You better believe back in the day that if you walked anywhere near the area of all those people, there was always something musical going on. People that wasn't inside in the studio was probably outside singing, you know, jamming, talking, all kinds of stuff. It never stops, and you're always part of it. You know, creativity is always going on and everything, and nobody ever has to be made to do that. You know, so it was just interesting. I watched that program, and I was rooting for them to see that if they could do it. But in the end, the more I saw it going on, it was like, I don't know. And then the numbers just started showing. People just didn't care because they didn't connect. You know, yeah, I want to be famous. I'm going to do all these outrageous things to get in front of people. But in the end, they didn't feel these people, you know, because they weren't coming. They just wanted to be famous, but they weren't. It wasn't like part of their blood flow and everything, right. You know. And you can feel that coming from somebody when they've really got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can. I know when my hot singer, you told her to sing. She brought it.
Oh, we felt her,
You know. Yeah.
we felt her right away. That's
Yeah.
what I like when people have that and they're ready. Because when they start making excuses or when they start singing and it sounds timid and they're chewing on their words and stuff like that, it's like, I believe anybody can make it, but that's a mental thing. That's some stuff going on out here. You got to get rid of that because you got to go to a deeper place to connect. And it really then does not become about how great a singer you are. I mean, would anybody say, Biz Markie was a great singer or rapper, but when he got up there and sang, you got what I need. He was
That's exactly what it sounded like too.
It's exactly what it sounded like. And it's still to this day, people felt that though because he was real with it. So it's not so much about he had to come in and sing it all perfectly. You felt that coming from that story, and that's what's always going to work. It's never gets down to technical stuff. That's why I say for us as engineers, producers, and musicians and everything, we always got to go back that we started out when we were kids and it just felt great. We just loved music and it touched us. We got to always keep going back to that. It ain't always about this technical stuff. The technical stuff is just tools to kind of shine up what we do. But the bottom line is don't make it too shiny either, because if you strip out what connects with people, doesn't matter how shiny it is, people are going to move on to something that makes them feel good, So, yeah. But anyway, I just wanted to say that, and we're going to wrap it up, guys. This is
Before
great.
you do that, we got Gordon here, and I know you wanted to hear something about the awards. Gordon was there.
Oh, yeah, Gordon. Go ahead, man. Definitely.
Oh, okay. Man, it was a great time. Great to see people get some recognition that don't normally, aren't in the spotlight. I mean, these guys are superstars to us, guys that are aspiring production producers and mixers. But, when you go to the Grammys or you go to the Academy Awards or you see it on TV, the focus is on the artist and what they're doing and what they've accomplished and so forth. So to see a lot of these guys are people that Dave knows and see them get recognition was really a great thing.
So cool. Yeah. Well, kind of walk us through and the experience, because me and Dave Hampton were going to try to go there, but we were working that day and we got late. We was actually getting ready to head down there, but it was just getting past the window, so it was like, okay, we'll live vicariously through you guys. So kind of explain it from the moment when you walked up, got your ticket, or if you already had it or whatever, when you walked in and got a chance to sit down and look around and see what was up, the setting and staging, and then take us through how the night progressed and everything, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, up front they had a cocktail party for the presenters and what they call the VIPs.
Right.
And so that was about the hour before the actual awards started, and there was quite a bit of camaraderie there between people, industry people, and of course, all these people were talking to each other, and a lot of them knew each other, of course, and I was privileged to kind of get to attend that, and it wasn't really, I didn't know anybody personally much. I knew Dave and Herb and Cole Nystrom was there, and he knew me, and Maor Applebaum was there, and I knew him, but for the most part, it's kind of difficult to strike up a conversation with somebody that's doing this day to day, whereas I'm a part-timer kind of at this. So that was initially they had that, and then the actual event, it was very well. The presentation was just very, very professional. It was they had two video screens on each side. On each side there was a video screen, a really large high definition display. The camera work that was done was just top notch. The sound, of course, was really good. You know, the guys that ran the sound, they were joking about them having to do a really good job because there were so many engineers in the crowd.
Absolutely.
So don't mess up, you know. But yeah, the whole, and the room was pretty much packed because they had sold as many tickets as they possibly could. So
how many people would you say was there? About 300-400 people?
yeah, something like that. And in a room that can hold that many, but it was packed out for sure.
Cool, yeah.
And of course, there was a guest appearance by Neil Young. He showed up. That just totally surprised me. I didn't know that was going to happen.
Wow.
And there was a video clip from Paul McCartney.
Oh, really?
Had
Cool.
some words to say about Dave himself and wishing him the best. And
how cool
that
is
kind of
that?
thing. Pardon me?
I said, how cool is that to have a videotape from Sir Paul McCartney?
Sir Paul, yeah, Sir Paul. So, of course, this is going to air probably July the 10th, from what we heard. So,
oh, really?
So
Okay, good.
You guys will be able to see it, I assume, on a video that they'll probably put on Pensado'sPlace.tv. So,
cool. That'd be great. Yeah.
Lots of great things. Said about let's see, what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. Al Schmidt.
Yeah,
Al Schmidt was really honored in a special segment when he accepted an award, and it was really great to see him get recognition after all the stuff that he's worked on and so forth. And you can tell he's very much loved by people that are his peers. And
absolutely, yeah. And
yeah, so it was kind of just an unreal experience just to see stuff on, you know, Grammy Awards on TV and you know the Academy Awards and stuff. This was a first-time experience for me being anywhere near anything like this.
Yeah,
you know, the whole red carpet thing for the people, and the awards, of the whole presentation of everything was very professionally done. Some very nice things were said about Dave, of course, and Herb, and it was just just a really great experience for me. I'm glad I was able to attend.
That's cool. Yeah. And how long was the whole total event?
I thought it was gonna be pretty short after the first couple of awards, and then they had some performers that performed. I guess it was about 2 hours.
Okay. Yeah. And
did it, a football game.
And they played audio, obviously, and everything like that. Did they play the winning mix from the Indaba contest?
No, they didn't. But the guy that won it came up and received his award and said he had come all the way from Germany.
From Germany, wow.
Yeah. The guy whose mix they picked was from Germany. So
okay, that's cool.
That one of the requirements was that you had to be able to attend the awards, I guess, right, to win. So. Yeah.
No, that was cool. What did the award look like?
Oh, it looked like a golden megaphone.
Oh, okay, cool.
Probably brass. Brad Blackwood won an award for mastering engineer.
Yeah.
and I saw him post on his Facebook page that the security people at the airport, the TSA, were really looking at this thing fairly closely on the plane trip back.
Oh man.
They didn't know what to think of it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
So I
looking
don't
at.
know.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know where to see some pictures of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some pictures on the internet somewhere.
Yeah, a few people were posting it in the Pensado student group, and I haven't really been back to find all the different things, but I'm sure there's probably a lot of stuff floating around because there's a lot of people, a lot of activity at the time. So maybe, we can find and get some links to some stuff and maybe just see it all together in one spot in some way. We'll figure that one out
Yeah,
as it
and
goes on.
check out the video when they post it. That I shot some video on my camera, but it wasn't what I would say decent enough to really, for people to really appreciate the event at the, So I thought, well, it's going to be online anyway, so
Yeah.
I just haven't posted any.
Okay, yeah, and we know. I mean, Mott was there. We're going to get him to talk a little bit about it too. But he was shooting some photos.
Anna just mentioned the young guru did the after party.
Yeah. So let's go over to Mott and Anna. What's up with you? Hey, welcome back.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. Great to see you. You were there too, right?
Yeah, I was there the whole time.
Oh, tell us
I
about
was
it.
there at the awards and the after party. It ended like at 11 or. It was late. It was late. They pretty much had to tell us like it's time to go now. But yeah, it was very fun. It was everybody was open, willing to talk. There's people from all over, from everywhere, really, just willing to share their information and talk about why they're there and about Dave Pensado and like how much they appreciate like an award ceremony that's for the engineers and for the producers, for the people that don't get appreciated as much.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think it's definitely a wonderful thing, and it's about time.
Did you see some engineers posting some moves? Did you see like Andy Schneps doing like a handstand and some crap like that?
What? No, I didn't see that.
I didn't see that.
Damn, that would have been so good.
That's funny, yeah. I'm sure when they get everything up. Gordon, you said what's the date they're going to post the video? This coming week, right?
Yeah, Herb announced it to be the 10th.
Okay. So we'll be on the lookout this week, definitely.
He wasn't real sure about it, but it wasn't concrete yet. But he said through the 10th out there as being the date.
Okay, cool. All right, that'll be cool, man.
I'm looking forward to seeing the whole thing start to finish.
Yeah.
In high definition.
Yeah. Very cool.
What was really cool is that you get to meet these people that you've talked to online or on the Pensado students page. Like I met John Nettlesby and
you met Nettlesby, yeah, that's my boy.
A couple of others that they were like, it's Anna, right? And I was like, yeah.
Okay,
that was very cool.
Yeah, cool, very cool. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have Nettlesby on here one of these days and do a hangout with us,
That'd be great.
Yep. What happened to Mott?
Oh, he's right over there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, before we wrap it up, I wanted to see if he wanted to say anything about his experience there, and
He wanted to say anything about your experience there.
My experience at NAMM. Wow, I'm already thinking of NAMM 2015. we're talking about a Pensadian meetup already at NAMM 2015. My experience at the Pensado Awards.
Yes.
Hectic, because of my crew. One of my crew members couldn't get in, and so I had VIP. I gave her my VIP pass, and so there was a pre-party that I didn't know about, and so I'm in there, and there's Ron Fair, JJP, Mayor was there. Guru, like we were sitting there taking pictures of Guru. There were, you know, Louis, is it Houghton? Louise Houghton? Am I saying his name right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Spanish guitarist.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know what the pronunciation is though. I know.
It's fun when you see a celebrity be a fan of another celebrity and they connect. That stuff was going on and it was pretty cool. And like I would capture that stuff on video for people. So at this pre-VIP party, me and my crew were in there. But then one of my crew members, when they arrived, they weren't able to get in. So I gave them, for the actual award show, I gave her my ticket. So I actually missed the awards, and then I made it in right after that. Matter of fact, I was out there with Gordon's wife. We sat outside, right outside the awards. We just sat out there in the lounge talking until Gordon came out, doing the romantic "I'll be with you, baby" thing. And because Gordon, you guys didn't attend if I remember right, he didn't attend the after party at all, if I remember right. And then I and my crew stayed like she said, they had to kick us out. Guru said it loud and clear. Guru was like, I am not leaving until they actually physically remove me. And he kept playing songs. And he's at the end, he didn't play any of him and Jay-Z's songs until the end, and he just went song after song. He went in and was like, "Oh, we ain't got no hits," and just kept playing song after song after song. You know?
That's cool. Oh, cool. Yeah.
What were you about to say, Gordon?
Oh, gee, I forgot already.
I said I was sitting outside with your wife. You came in, romantically rescued her from my technical conversation.
Well, I was going to say something about you guys getting kicked out of there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we really did stay until it closed. Like, we were partying with Guru.
Yeah.
So Guru didn't really play his music until the very end, right?
Right. And it was like 15 songs. It was song after song, and he was laughing about it. Oh, I got another one. And oh, we're not relevant. And then he played something that he had a hit from last year. Like, it was insane. And like I said, then there was somebody who had came in, DJ Will had came in from Germany. So there were people who came in from, you know, around the world. And him and there was a young lady who was his guest. She was also from Germany. And I'm sitting there like, you guys flew in from Germany? Yeah. She's like, yeah, I bought my ticket while I was in Germany and came out here, and I was coming anyway, so I came to this. And it's like, oh, okay. So, I mean, it's an international crowd there. But like I said, we had a blast, you know. And then I got invited to the barbecue 2 days later or something like that. Whatever Saturday, the 4th of July, whatever that was.
Yeah, it was Thursday.
Thursday.
Friday. Was that Thursday or Friday? That was Friday, wasn't it?
Bro, it had to be Friday because
it was Friday.
I get my days all screwed up. But we had fun. She was talking to John. Her and Ruby Red were talking to John Nettlesby. He was wearing this Batman T-shirt thingy, and I almost wore my Green Lantern. They know I do stuff like that. Like they give me a hard time about it a little bit. But that would have been so cool if I was in my Green Lantern and he was in his Batman. But you know, I said, John, this is Anoram's Ruby Red. And I said, this singer, rapper, and so they started conversing with him. Then I saw Mayor and had him talk to Dos, the one who called Out of Control. You know, so we had all our artists, and I was introducing them, you know, around to people. We had a good time, bro.
Cool, man. Cool, good. Well, good time had for all. You know. I wish we could have made it, but I'll make it next year. You know, me and Dave was actually going to come down. I think if we had known y'all was out at the bar or something, because we had talked about it. He's like, you want just going down and hang out at the bar? And then we was like, well, by the time we get down there, everybody probably be breaking out. So
I was hoping you can. I thought you guys might at least show up. Y'all was like, please let them show up because we had our whole crew there, bro.
We were thinking about it hard, and then it was just like, well, we didn't want to make that drive and then get down there, and then everybody's breaking out, and like, oh, okay, well, took a joyride.
And I knew that they had paid money, like some serious money, not just by the hotel was nice, the help. That help was so professional. And it was high class. They did it high class. And one of the help was I walked up and I said, "Can I give you a hand?" And he stopped. He looked. He said, "No, can I give you a hand? You're supposed to enjoy yourself."
Yeah.
I looked like, "My bad, bro. My bad." You know, they were high class, bro. They did it. They went for it on this.
Yeah. That's how it is too. You know, like Gordon was saying, make it closer. If it can make this thing more akin to like, you know, the Grammys and all the other awards that are really high level, because I mean these are high level people that are responsible for all these other things, been parts of them. So this one should definitely be a big part of that, you know.
Right after the awards, you had celebrities, what we would consider celebrities, with people who are not celebrities. Everybody mingling as one. So you're standing there with Ron Fair, or Alex the Kid is standing there, and some young lady says, "I'm a singer." What does he say? "Okay, sing for me." Sings for him in this little low pipsqueak voice, like she was scared to sing. It's like, oh no, that was your moment. What are you doing?
That was your moment, exactly. As I say, we be prepping people here, man. But
you got a room full of people, and you what? You didn't break it.
You can't
check it out. But yeah, it was good, bro. If anybody wanted their moment, that was the time.
Yeah, you know? Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Very good, man. Cool. Well, folks, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here, and you know, we'll dig some more into this, and work on getting your system in, and we'll do some stuff. If we ever need to even do a test ahead of time, just let me know, and we'll figure something out.
Roger that, bro. We'll do.
All right. Well, everybody, y'all have a wonderful day, and I'm gonna get out here and get me some lunch because I'm starved.
Cheers, everybody.
All right.
All right, everybody. Take care.
All right. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.